Tonight we are walking into a world that existed before kings of thunder ruled the sky, before the bright halls of Olympus echoed with the voices of gods, before mighty Zeus lifted his lightning, before the great stories that later generations would carve into marble and sing beside sacred fires. You find yourself standing beneath a sky that has not yet been born. Around you lies only mystery. The air is cool and still. There are no mountains, no seas, no cities, no temples shining in moonlight. Only silence stretching beyond imagination. As you settle into this ancient darkness, perhaps take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these journeys through mythology. And if you wish, share your location and local time in the comments below. It is always fascinating to see where in the world fellow travelers are listening tonight. Now the darkness deepens, and somewhere within it, the oldest mystery of Greek mythology begins. The ancient Greeks called it chaos, not chaos in the modern sense of noise and confusion. Something far stranger, something far older. You drift through an endless void where neither earth nor sky exists. There is no horizon, no direction, no distance. Time itself seems uncertain. The darkness feels neither hostile nor welcoming. It simply is. Ancient poets struggled to describe this beginning. Historians continue to debate what the earliest storytellers truly meant by chaos. Some researchers believe it represented a yawning gap, an immeasurable emptiness between things. Another interpretation suggests it was the very possibility of existence itself. The mystery remains, and perhaps that uncertainty is exactly what fascinated the Greeks. For even they believed that some truths existed beyond complete understanding. You continue through the silence. Then something changes. Not suddenly, not dramatically. Like the first faint glow before dawn, a presence begins to emerge. From the immeasurable darkness rises Gaia, Earth, the first great mother. You cannot yet see forests or mountains upon her body. Those will come later. For now she exists as possibility, a vast foundation upon which all future life may rest. The darkness around her remains immense. Yet her appearance changes everything. For the first time, something possesses shape. Something endures. Something belongs. The ancient Greeks often imagined Gaia not merely as soil and stone, but as a living being. Beneath every field, beneath every olive grove, beneath every city wall, her presence remained. Even centuries later, farmers pouring wine into the ground before planting crops remembered her ancient power. You feel the stillness around Gaia. It is peaceful, yet also lonely. For what is earth without sky? What is existence without companionship? Perhaps Gaia wondered the same thing. No surviving poet can tell us exactly what thoughts passed through her mind. The earliest traditions offer only fragments. Still, those fragments suggest longing, a desire for completion, a desire for creation. And so new beings begin to emerge. First comes Tartarus, far below, a depth beneath all depths, a place so distant that even later gods would fear it. You sense its presence like a cold current beneath calm water, dark, silent, waiting. The Greeks would eventually imagine Tartarus as a prison for terrible enemies of the gods. Yet, at this ancient moment, it is simply another piece of existence taking form, a reminder that every world contains shadows. Every light creates darkness. Every beginning carries the possibility of endings. Then comes another force, one far gentler, one far more mysterious. Eros, desire, the power of attraction, the force that draws separate things together. Not the playful winged figure that later artists painted upon pottery and temple walls. This Eros is older, deeper, more fundamental. You feel it moving quietly through creation, like an invisible current. Without Eros, nothing would unite, nothing would grow, nothing would love. The Greeks understood something profound here, long before philosophers debated the nature of existence. Myth suggested that desire itself helped shape reality. Not violence, not conquest, connection. You continue through this newborn cosmos. Chaos remains. Gaia stands firm. Tartarus waits below. Eros drifts between them. And creation slowly gathers momentum. Soon, other ancient powers emerge. Nyx appears, Night. She moves like dark velvet across an endless sky not yet fully formed. There is beauty in her presence, a quiet majesty, the cool mystery of moonless evenings. From night comes many children. Some represent dreams, others embody fate. Some bring sleep, others bring death. The Greeks often treated these powers with unusual respect. Even mighty gods later approached them carefully, for they belonged to an older generation, a deeper layer of reality. As you walk beside Nyx, you notice something remarkable. She is not evil, neither is darkness. The ancient world rarely divided existence into simple categories of good and bad. Night provided rest. Sleep brought healing. Darkness allowed reflection. Every force possessed purpose. Every force held meaning. A gentle breeze begins to move through the emptiness. You cannot tell where it comes from. Perhaps it exists only within the imagination of future storytellers. Yet it carries a feeling, expectation, like a stage preparing for actors, like a sacred fire waiting for its first spark. The cosmos is growing. The pieces are gathering, but the greatest transformations still lie ahead. Far in the future, gods will battle across heaven. Heroes will sail dangerous seas. Temples will rise upon rocky hills overlooking bright harbors. Priests will burn incense beneath marble columns. Pilgrims will climb mountain paths seeking wisdom. Yet none of that exists now. Only foundations, only possibilities, only the first quiet movements of destiny. And destiny already seems awake. Some ancient traditions speak of signs appearing even during creation itself. Subtle omens hidden within the earliest moments. Patterns suggesting that conflict would eventually emerge between generations. That children would challenge parents. That power would pass from one age to another. Perhaps those stories were created much later. Historians continue to debate the question. Yet they reveal something important about Greek mythology. The Greeks rarely imagined power as permanent. Every ruler faced uncertainty. Every age eventually changed. Even the cosmos itself evolved. As Gaia gazes into the darkness surrounding her, another mystery remains unresolved. Did she understand what would come? Did she foresee the children she would bear, the loves she would experience, the grief she would endure, the wars that would one day shake creation? No surviving source can answer. And perhaps that uncertainty is fitting, for the future remains hidden, even from those who create it. The silence returns, not empty now, different. Richer, filled with unseen potential. You stand beside Gaia as the first age of existence settles around you. The darkness feels softer, the void less lonely. Something important has begun. Ahead lies the birth of the sky itself, a meeting that will change everything, a union that will create wonders, and eventually bring sorrow. Far above where no stars yet shine, something waits to descend. Something vast, something beautiful, something destined to become both protector and tyrant. The story moves quietly toward its next turning. And Gaia, the first mother, waits beneath the endless dark. Gaia opens her eyes beneath a darkness that has begun to soften. You stand near her in that first quiet age, before the earth wears forests, rivers, or fields of grain. There is no golden wheat bending in the wind, no shepherd calling across a hillside, no harbor lamps trembling beside black water. Yet everything that will one day exist seems to sleep within her. The future is folded inside stone. The future is hidden inside soil. The ancient Greeks felt this mystery deeply. To them, earth was not only ground beneath sandals. Earth was mother witness grave and giver of harvest. Every vineyard root, every spring, every sacred grove belonged to her ancient body. When farmers pressed seeds into dark earth, they trusted Gaia without always naming her. When families buried their dead, they returned them to her keeping. And here in the beginning, she is alone, with that immense responsibility. You feel the coolness of her surface beneath your bare feet. It is firm, but not yet weathered. There are no paths, no stones worn smooth by pilgrims, no temple steps polished by centuries of prayer. Only the first body of the world. Gaia breathes, and with that breath creation deepens. From her vast being rise the first mountains. They do not burst upward with violence. They lift slowly like sleeping giants turning beneath a blanket of mist. Peaks gather in the distance, pale and silent. Their slopes are bare at first, but already they seem sacred. Ancient Greeks would later imagine mountains as places where gods drew near to mortals. High places touch the unseen. Olympus itself would one day become the greatest of these heights, but not yet. For now the mountains are young. Their stones are cold. Their summits wait beneath a sky that has not fully arrived. A quiet omen passes through them. Perhaps it is only wind. Perhaps it is something more. The peaks seem to whisper that one mountain will someday hold a throne, and that throne will not belong to its first claimant forever. No one can yet know what this means. Gaia turns toward the emptiness around her, and the sea begins to appear. Pontus, the deep sea, emerges from her without union. He spreads outward in shining darkness, restless and ancient. You hear the first waves strike the newborn shore. The sound is low and rhythmic, a breathing of water against stone. Salt rises into the air, sharp and clean. The wind carries a taste of distance, of islands, not yet named, of ships, not yet built, of sailors, not yet afraid. The Greeks would become a people of coastlines and crossings. Their myths would travel across the Aegean, clinging to harbors, festivals, and market songs. Every island could preserve a different version of a divine birth. This is why ancient traditions often disagree. One village remembered one god differently from another. One poet shaped a story another poet left open. The sea itself encouraged variation. It carried stories as easily as ships. Beside Pontus, Gaia feels less alone. Yet the sea is not companionship in the way she will soon desire it. The sea is movement. It is distance. It is mystery forever pulling away from shore. She needs something above her, something to cover and complete her, something to answer her vast stillness. In the silence before that answer comes, Gaia dreams. This dream matters. It comes like moonlight before the moon has been born. You see it unfold across her sleeping body. She dreams of children. Not one child, but many. Some are beautiful, shining with dignity and strength. Others are strange, enormous, and difficult to behold. Some carry wisdom. Some carry violence. Some carry the burden of being feared before they are understood. In the dream, Gaia reaches for them, but a shadow falls between mother and child. A voice without a body gives a warning. What is hidden too deeply will not remain hidden forever. The dream fades. Gaia wakes into stillness. Was this warning a true prophecy or a later pattern placed into the myth by storytellers who already knew the end historian? Nuns continue to debate how early these themes appeared in Greek oral tradition. Yet the meaning feels clear. Creation is never simple. To give life is to invite change. To bear children is to surrender control over the future. Gaia rises across the newborn world, and you follow her through landscapes still forming beneath her will. Valleys open like cupped hands. Caverns hollow themselves in silence. Springs gather in secret places waiting for future worshippers. One day people will approach such springs with offerings. They will pour honey milk and wine into the earth. They will leave small figurines, broken pottery, and prayers whispered beneath olive trees. Archaeological discoveries from Greek sanctuaries show how deeply sacred landscapes mattered. Caves, groves, mountaintops, and springs often became places where humans felt older powers still breathed. You can almost see them now, not as they are, but as they will become. A woman tying wool to a branch. A shepherd leaving first milk beside a stone. A child touching cold rock before asking for protection. The future flickers softly around Gaia. Then it disappears. She remains in the first world, alone again, but not empty. Within her grows the desire to create a being equal to herself in grandeur. Not a child like a mountain or sea. Not a depth like Tartarus. She longs for a presence that can stretch above her and surround her. A companion, a mirror, a covering. Soon from Gaia herself the sky will rise. Uranus, starry, beautiful, and immense. But beauty in myth often carries warning. And as the first faint glimmer gathers over the horizon, you remember the dream of hidden children. You remember the whisper, what is hidden too deeply will not remain hidden forever. Gaia looks upward. The darkness above her begins to change, and the world holds its breath. The darkness above Gaia begins to shimmer. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. A faint silver glow spreads through the emptiness like mist gathering over distant water. The newborn mountains stand motionless beneath it. The seas grow quiet. Even the ancient winds seem to pause. You stand beside Gaia and feel anticipation moving through creation. Something approaches, something vast, something beautiful. The Greeks called him Uranus, the sky, not merely the air above the earth, but the entire dome of heaven itself. He rises from Gaia, and yet stands apart from her. He stretches endlessly in every direction, surrounding the world with a mantle of stars not yet fully born. You watch him unfold across the cosmos. His presence is magnificent. The ancient storytellers imagined the sky as a living being because the sky seemed alive. It moved. It changed. It carried storms, sunlight, and darkness. It watched over every field and harbor. To early peoples, the heavens could not be an empty thing. They felt too powerful, too mysterious, too present. As Uranus spreads above the world, the first stars begin to appear. One by one, they emerge from the darkness, tiny points of silver light. Soon they become countless. They scatter across his great body like jewels sewn into dark velvet. You gaze upward and understand why later generations filled the heavens with stories. Every star invites a question. Every constellation suggests a hidden meaning. Even today, historians debate which celestial traditions reached Greece from older civilizations and which developed locally through generations of oral storytelling. The answers remain uncertain. Yet uncertainty itself seems fitting beneath a sky filled with mysteries. Gaia looks upward. For the first time, she is no longer alone. Uranus bends over her protectively. The mountains now stand beneath heaven. The seas reflect the stars. The world feels complete, at least for a moment. The union between earth and sky becomes one of the oldest and most important themes in mythology. Similar stories appear across many ancient cultures. The earth below and the heavens above create a sacred balance. To the Greeks, this union explained the harmony visible throughout nature. Rain descended from heaven. Plants rose from earth. Life flourished between them. The world itself seemed born from partnership. You walk through this early creation as it grows richer with each passing moment. The air carries the scent of salt from the sea. Cool winds drift across bare mountain slopes. The stars brighten overhead. Everything feels peaceful, and yet peace in Greek mythology rarely lasts forever. Beneath beauty, destiny often waits. Gaia and Uranus become devoted companions. Together, they watch the young cosmos mature. Valleys deepen. Cliffs rise above the sea. Hidden caves form beneath mountains. The earth becomes ready for life. Soon children begin to arrive. The first generation born from earth and sky. The Titans. You witness their appearance across the world. Each possesses immense power. Each reflects a different aspect of existence. Oceanus emerges first calm and vast, like the waters surrounding the earth. Then comes Coeus, thoughtful and watchful. Crius follows stern and strong. Hyperion appears shining with celestial dignity. Iapetus carries a quieter presence, one connected to futures not yet revealed. Then come the Titanesses, Theia radiant and noble, Rhea warm and compassionate, Themis guardian of order and sacred custom, Mnemosyne keeper of memory, Phoebe associated with wisdom and prophecy, and Tethys linked to nurturing waters. Finally comes the youngest, Cronus, patient, observant, silent. You notice him standing slightly apart from his siblings, not isolated, simply watchful. There is a depth in him difficult to understand. Ancient traditions often portray him differently. Some describe a wise ruler of a golden age. Others emphasize darker qualities that emerge later. Perhaps both are true. Human beings are rarely simple. Greek gods are even less so. The young Titans spread across the growing world. You follow them through landscapes, becoming increasingly familiar. Rivers begin carving paths toward the sea. Mists drift through valleys at dawn. Moonlight shines across quiet shores. The cosmos feels alive. The Greeks later imagined many natural forces through these divine figures. A river could be a god. A spring could possess a spirit. A mountain could remember sacred events. Nature itself became a vast family. Yet Gaia and Uranus are not finished creating. More children are born. And these children are different, far different. The first are the Cyclops, gigantic beings possessing immense strength and a single eye in the center of the forehead. Many later Greeks associated them with volcanic landscapes and the mysterious skills of divine craftsmanship. You watch them emerge from the earth. They are powerful, strange, neither beautiful nor ugly, simply different. Their great eyes seem capable of seeing things others miss. Some ancient interpreters believe the Cyclopes symbolize primal forces hidden within nature. Others connected them to forgotten myths whose meanings are now lost. The mystery remains. After them come the hundred-handed ones, the Hecatoncheires. Their appearance is astonishing. Each possesses 100 arms and 50 heads. They seem less like individuals and more like living storms, raw power given form. You watch mountains tremble beneath their footsteps. The sea churns when they move. Even the winds hesitate. Yet despite their terrifying appearance, nothing in the earliest stories suggests they are evil. They simply exist, powerful beyond imagination, children of earth and sky like all the others. And here, something begins to change. A shadow passes through Uranus. At first it is subtle. A hesitation, a glance, a growing unease. The sky god studies these younger children, the Cyclopes, the hundred-handed ones. He sees their strength. He sees their difference. He sees possibilities he cannot control. Fear enters heaven. The Greeks understood this fear well. Again and again in their myths, rulers become frightened by the very future they helped create. A prophecy often lies behind such fear. A warning, a dream, a sign, and now a strange omen appears. One night, while stars drift silently across Uranus's vast body, a pattern forms among them. The lights gather into a shape resembling an open hand. Then the shape vanishes. No one can explain it. Not Gaia, not the Titans, not even Uranus. Some traditions never mention this omen at all. Others preserve fragments suggesting strange signs appeared before the first great conflict. Whatever its origin, the image troubles Uranus deeply. An open hand, 100 hands. The connection feels impossible to ignore. Fear grows stronger. The younger children seem less like family and more like threats. You watch the change unfold. The peaceful age begins to crack, not through violence, not yet, through suspicion, through anxiety, through the ancient belief that power must defend itself. Gaia notices the change. A mother's instincts rarely fail. She sees tension gathering behind Uranus's magnificent appearance. She senses something approaching. The stars remain beautiful overhead. The sea continues its endless rhythm. The mountains stand silent beneath moonlight. Yet the world feels different now. The first shadow has entered paradise, and somewhere in the darkness, destiny waits for its moment. The warning from Gaia's dream returns like a distant echo. What is hidden too deeply will not remain hidden forever. Soon that warning will begin to reveal its true meaning. The warning lingers over the young world like mist drifting across a silent shoreline. You feel it in the cool air. You hear it beneath the steady rhythm of waves meeting stone. The stars still shine across the body of Uranus. The mountains still stand in quiet majesty. The seas still stretch beyond every horizon. Yet something fundamental has changed. Fear has entered creation. And fear, once welcomed into the heart, rarely remains small. You walk beside Gaia as she watches her children move across the world. The Titans thrive. Oceanus follows the pathways of endless waters. Themis contemplates sacred balance beneath star-filled skies. Mnemosyne gathers memories that future generations will someday shape into songs. Hyperion studies the heavens with calm fascination. Rhea wanders valleys and newborn forests, bringing warmth wherever she goes. The world feels increasingly alive. Yet Gaia's attention often drifts toward her younger children, toward the Cyclops, toward the hundred-handed ones. She sees what Uranus refuses to see. Not monsters, not threats. Children, strange perhaps, powerful certainly, but still her children. The Cyclops spend long ages exploring caverns beneath mountains. You follow them through vast underground chambers where stone glitters with hidden minerals. The air is cool there, damp, filled with the scent of earth untouched by sunlight. Torchlight does not yet exist, but veins of crystal seem to glow faintly from within. The Cyclopes move through these depths with ease. Their single eyes catch details invisible to others. Some later traditions would remember them as divine craftsmen. They would forge wonders beyond mortal imagination. Already there are hints of that future. You watch one Cyclops run enormous fingers across a wall of shining stone, studying its patterns with patient curiosity. Creation interests them, making interests them. They seem drawn toward possibility. Elsewhere, the hundred-handed ones roam distant regions. Despite their fearsome appearance, they show little interest in domination. They move like living forces of nature. When they walk along coastlines, the surf rises around them. When they cross valleys, clouds gather overhead. The ancient Greeks often viewed overwhelming natural power with a mixture of awe and respect. Storms were not evil. Earthquakes were not evil. They were simply larger than human understanding. The hundred-handed ones belong to that same category. Yet Uranus sees none of this. He sees only danger. You watch him gaze downward from the heavens. His fear deepens with every passing age. The mysterious sign among the stars continues to trouble him. The image of the open hand. The reminder of strength beyond his control. Perhaps the omen carried divine meaning. Perhaps it was only coincidence. No surviving source can tell us with certainty. Ancient storytellers rarely separated symbolism from reality. For them, signs mattered because people believed they mattered, and belief itself shaped destiny. One evening, if evening can truly exist before sun and moon fully govern the sky, Uranus withdraws into silence. The stars above seem colder. The air feels heavier. Gaia senses his unease. She approaches him gently. You follow through fields of silver grass swaying beneath celestial light. The landscape has become beautiful now. Streams wind through valleys. Young forests cover distant slopes. The scent of pine drifts through the air. Creation flourishes. Yet beneath that beauty lies tension. Gaia asks what troubles him. For a time, Uranus does not answer. Then he speaks. His voice rolls across the world like distant thunder. He speaks of fear. He speaks of uncertainty. He speaks of children whose strength surpasses reason. Most of all, he speaks of losing what he has built. The Greeks understood this fear well. Kings feared rivals. Fathers feared succession. Cities feared invasion. Mortals feared death. Again and again, mythology returns to the same question. How far will someone go to protect power? Gaia listens. She hears concern. But she also hears something darker. Possession. Uranus has begun to see creation as something belonging to him, not something shared, not something growing, something owned. And ownership often breeds control. The conversation ends without resolution. The stars continue their silent journey overhead. Yet Gaia walks away troubled. A warning has entered her heart. The next sign arrives soon after. One night Gaia dreams again. This dream is stronger than the first, more vivid, more difficult to ignore. You stand beside her within the dream landscape. The earth stretches endlessly beneath moonlight. A mountain rises in the distance. At its summit stands a throne. At first, the throne appears empty. Then shadows gather around it. One ruler sits upon it, then another, then another. Each replaces the one before. None remain forever. The mountain itself endures. The rulers do not. A voice emerges from the darkness. It is neither male nor female, neither kind nor cruel. It simply speaks. No throne belongs to one generation alone. Gaia wakes suddenly. The dream leaves her unsettled. Was it prophecy? Was it fear? Was it merely the imagination of a mother worried for her family? Even the ancient Greeks offered different answers. Yet the message feels unmistakable. Power passes. Nothing remains unchanged. As the dream lingers, Uranus reaches his decision. And the decision will alter the course of divine history. You witness the moment from a hillside overlooking the sea. The stars shine brightly overhead. Cool winds carry salt across the coastline. Everything appears peaceful. Yet beneath the earth, hidden caverns wait. Deep chambers untouched by light. Places connected to Gaia herself. Places of confinement. Places of silence. Uranus summons the Cyclops. He summons the 100-handed ones. They come without suspicion. Why would they fear their father? Why would children expect betrayal from the one who helped bring them into existence? The answer is heartbreaking. They would not. Gaia watches. Confusion spreads through her. Then horror. For Uranus forces the younger children into the depths of the earth, into hidden prisons within Gaia's body, into darkness. The Cyclopes disappear first. Then the 100-handed ones. Their voices echo through vast underground passages. The sound fades slowly, then vanishes. Silence remains. The world itself seems to recoil. Mountains tremble faintly. The sea grows restless. Cold winds sweep across valleys. Ancient storytellers often linked cosmic injustice with disturbances in nature. When rulers violated sacred balance, the world responded. Not always immediately, but eventually. Gaia feels unbearable grief. You feel it too. The pain moves through every stone and river, through every hillside and coastline. Her children have not died. That almost makes it worse. They still exist, trapped, hidden, forgotten by all except their mother. The warning from her dream returns. No throne belongs to one generation alone. And now, another question rises from the darkness. A question without answer. What happens when a mother's grief becomes stronger than her patience? The stars continue shining above. Uranus believes his problem is solved. The feared children are gone. His rule appears secure. Peace seems restored. But beneath the earth, imprisoned voices remain. And deep within Gaia's heart, something new begins to grow. Not fear, not sorrow, something far more dangerous. Resolve. Gaia's sorrow does not cry out at first. It settles. It sinks. It enters the deep places where roots will one day grow, where bones will one day rest, where hidden springs will whisper beneath temple stones. You stand beside her in the long silence after the imprisonment. Above, Uranus stretches magnificently across the heavens. He remains beautiful. That is part of the tragedy. The stars still burn upon him like sacred lamps. The night sky still inspires awe. The young world still rests beneath his endless covering. Yet beauty has become shadowed by cruelty. The Greeks understood this painful contradiction. A divine power could be glorious and unjust at the same time. A ruler could bring order and still commit harm. Myth allowed both truths to exist together. Gaia listens. Beneath her surface, the Cyclopes groan in darkness. The 100-handed ones shift in their hidden prison, their many arms pressing against walls of stone. Their voices move through her like distant thunder trapped underground. No mortal ear exists to hear them, but their mother hears, always. Each sound becomes a wound. Each silence becomes worse. You follow Gaia across the newborn world as she tries to endure. She walks through valleys silvered by starlight. She passes the shore where Pontus breathes against black rocks. She rests beneath young cliffs where cold mist gathers. The air smells of salt stone and untouched earth. Everything around her is vast, but grief can make even vastness feel narrow. The Titans sense something has changed. Rhea watches her mother from a distance, troubled by a tenderness she cannot yet name. Themis feels sacred balance bending under pressure. Mnemosyne remembers every cry from below, though she speaks of it to no one. Cronus watches most carefully. The youngest Titan stands in half-shadow beneath a ridge of stone. He does not ask questions. Not yet, but his eyes follow Gaia. Some ancient traditions describe Cronus as cunning from the beginning. Others suggest that he was shaped by circumstance, by fear, and by the burden of being chosen. Which version is truer? Perhaps the myth leaves room for both. For now, Cronus is only listening, and Gaia's grief continues to deepen. One night she dreams again. The dream begins in darkness beneath the earth. You are there with her, moving through caverns where no star can reach. The air is cold and heavy. Moisture glistens on stone walls like tears that never fall. Far ahead, something shines. Not gold, not fire. A pale, curved light. Gaia approaches and sees a blade, a sickle. Its edge glows with moon-like brightness, although no moon has yet taken her place in heaven. A voice speaks from the stone around her. What is cut away may still leave a wound in the world. Gaia wakes before the meaning becomes clear. Her body trembles. The dream is a warning, or perhaps an instruction. Ancient listeners would have understood that dreams were never casual things. In Greek tradition, dreams might come from gods from the dead or from mysterious powers older than both. Some were deceptive, some were true. The difficulty lay in knowing which kind had arrived. Gaia rises beneath the stars. She now understands that sorrow alone will not free her children. Pleading will not move Uranus. Patience will not soften him. Something must be made, something capable of changing heaven. So Gaia reaches into herself. She gathers metal from the hidden veins of the earth. She draws strength from deep stone-cold caverns and the pressure of buried ages. You feel the world tighten around her labor. There is no forge yet, as mortals will know it. No hammer ringing in a bronze workshop. No fire-lit smithy beside a palace courtyard. This is older craftsmanship. A mother shaping resistance from her own body. Slowly, the sickle comes into being. Its curve is slender and terrible. Its surface catches starlight. Its edge seems quieter than violence, which makes it more frightening. It is not a sword of open battle. It is a harvesting blade, a tool of cutting, a tool of endings. The symbolism would not have been lost on ancient Greeks. The sickle belonged to fields, grain harvest, and time. To place it in the hands of rebellion joined agriculture with cosmic revolution. What grows must one day be cut. What rules must one day fall. When the blade is finished, Gaia hides it in shadow. The earth becomes still around it. Even the sea winds seem to lower their voices. Now comes the harder task. She must speak to her children, not the imprisoned ones, for they cannot answer. The Titans, the free children, those who still walk beneath their father's sky. Gaia summons them to a secret gathering in a hidden valley. You walk with her beneath ancient stars. The valley lies between young mountains, sheltered from the gaze of heaven. Mist gathers low over the ground. Dark cypress trees stand like silent witnesses, though their roots are still new. The Titans arrive one by one. Oceanus comes with the hush of encircling waters. Theia carries a faint radiance. Themis stands grave and still. Rhea approaches with quiet concern. Mnemosyne remembers why they have come before Gaia speaks. Last comes Cronus, silent, watchful, waiting. Gaia tells them what Uranus has done. She speaks of the Cyclops. She speaks of the 100-handed ones. She speaks of darkness inside her own body. Her words are calm. That calm makes them heavier. Then she reveals the sickle. Starlight slides along its edge. A shiver passes through the gathering. The Titans understand. Their mother is not asking for comfort. She is asking for action, yet fear holds them. Uranus is the sky. How can any child strike the sky? How can a son lift his hand against the one who covers all things? No one answers. The silence grows. Here the myth becomes painfully human. Injustice may be seen by many, yet resisted by few. Fear can make witnesses resemble accomplices. Gaia waits. Her eyes move from child to child. Oceanus looks away. Themis grieves, but does not step forward. Rhea lowers her gaze. Then Cronus looks at the blade. Something changes in him. Perhaps ambition wakes. Perhaps pity. Perhaps both. A mysterious sign appears overhead, though the valley is hidden. One star falls silently across the sky. It vanishes before touching earth. Gaia sees it. Cronus sees it too. Was it approval? Was it warning? No one can know. But Cronus steps forward. He reaches for the sickle, and the first great rebellion begins in silence. Cronus takes the sickle from Gaia's hands. The valley becomes impossibly still. Mist clings to the ground. The newborn mountains rise around you like sleeping witnesses. Above them, Uranus stretches across the heavens, unaware that one of his own children has accepted the blade of earth. Cronus does not speak at once. He feels the weight of the sickle. It is not heavy like stone. It is heavy like choice. Cold light runs along its curved edge. The metal seems alive with Gaia's sorrow and with something older than sorrow. It carries the pressure of caverns, the silence of buried places, and the grief of children hidden too deeply. You stand near Cronus and feel the change in him. Until this moment, he has been the youngest Titan, watchful, quiet, unproven. Now the others look at him differently. Rhea's face softens with concern. Themis studies him as though measuring the balance of destiny. Oceanus keeps his distance, vast and unreadable. Gaia watches most closely. A mother knows when a child crosses a threshold. Cronus finally lifts his eyes. He asks what must be done. Gaia tells him. Her voice is low, almost gentle. Uranus comes to her in the night. He descends over the earth with all the confidence of one who believes he cannot be challenged. When he draws near, Cronus must be waiting. The plan is simple. That makes it terrifying. No armies, no thunder, no palace siege. Only darkness, patience, and a blade shaped from grief. The Greeks often gave their oldest myths this stark power. Great cosmic changes do not always begin with noise. Sometimes they begin with a secret held beneath stars. Cronus listens, yet something uncertain flickers inside him. Is he acting for Gaia? For his imprisoned siblings? Or for himself? Ancient traditions never fully answer. Some later storytellers saw him as wicked ambition from the beginning. Others remembered him as the ruler of a golden age before labor and suffering hardened mortal life. Perhaps both shadows already live within him. You follow him after the gathering ends. The Titans depart quietly through the mist. No songs mark this decision. No sacred fires celebrate it. Each returns to the world carrying knowledge too dangerous to speak aloud. Rhea pauses before leaving. She comes close to Cronus. For a moment, neither speaks. The air between them is cool and full of future sorrow. Rhea senses that the blade will not only wound Uranus, it will change Cronus. She cannot yet know how deeply, but a warning rises in her heart. Power won through fear may one day fear everything. She does not say this aloud. Perhaps she should have. The mystery remains. Instead, she touches his arm gently. Cronus looks at her, and something human passes through his divine face. Not weakness, not tenderness exactly. A brief recognition that he is still loved before he becomes feared. Then Rhea leaves. Cronus stands alone. The sickle rests against his side. Overhead, the stars burn quietly. He looks up at Uranus. The sky seems endless. How can anything strike something so vast? How can a sun wound the heavens? Yet the blade in his hand suggests an answer. You walk with Cronus across the early world. He moves through groves where leaves tremble though no storm blows. He crosses bare hills beneath blue-black starlight. He passes caverns where muffled sounds rise from below. The imprisoned Cyclopes sense something. Their voices stir faintly through Gaia's body. The 100-handed ones shift in darkness. Their many hands press against stone. Cronus hears them. For the first time, perhaps, their suffering becomes real to him. Not a story told by Gaia, not a complaint carried through the earth. A living pain. He stops beside a cave mouth. Cold air breathes upward from the depths. It smells of wet rock and hidden metal. A whisper seems to rise from below. Will you free us? Cronus closes his eyes. He does not answer. This is the first fracture in him. For if he truly acts to free them, he must remember them after victory. If he acts only to seize power, their prison may continue. The question hangs in the dark. No one could know what destiny intended. Perhaps even Cronus does not know himself. In later Greek imagination, this moment would echo across generations. Sons would challenge fathers. Rulers would fear heirs. Prophecy would become a shadow under every throne. Here the pattern begins. Cronus returns to Gaia's hidden valley and waits. The night deepens. The sea grows restless along distant shores. Wind moves through cypress branches with a sound like soft warning. Gaia lies beneath Uranus as she has since the beginning. She appears calm, but beneath her stillness, you feel tension gathering. Her grief has become resolve. Her resolve has become action. The stars overhead shift. One by one, they brighten around Uranus, as though heaven itself senses danger. A strange formation appears near the horizon, shaped like a curved blade. Cronus sees it. Gaia sees it too. Was it destiny approving the rebellion, or heaven warning of the curse to come? Ancient storytellers might have answered differently in different villages. One singer might call it justice. Another might call it the birth of violence. Both meanings remain. Cronus crouches in shadow. The sickle glows faintly in his hand. He waits as Uranus descends. The sky lowers toward Earth in majesty and trust. For a heartbeat, the world appears almost tender. Earth and sky reunited beneath stars, the first parents of divine life. Then Cronus moves, not yet striking, only rising. And in that suspended moment before the blade falls, you feel the full sadness of the myth. Creation has reached the point where love and violence cannot be separated. A son stands against a father. A mother guides the hand. Hidden children wait below, and above them all the stars hold their breath. The stars seem frozen above the world. You stand in the silence between one age and the next. Cronus has risen from the shadows. The sickle rests in his hand. Uranus descends toward Gaia, unaware that destiny has finally reached him. For countless ages, the sky has stretched above the earth. Together they shaped mountains, seas, valleys, and divine children. Their union brought order to the young cosmos. Yet now that ancient bond has become a prison. The cries of the Cyclopes still echo beneath the earth. The hundred-handed ones remain hidden in darkness. And Gaia's grief has hardened into something that can no longer be ignored. The air feels strangely cold. A wind moves across the newborn world. The sea grows restless against distant shores. Even the mountains seem to lean forward listening. Ancient Greek storytellers often described moments like this with signs in nature. When great changes approached, the world itself seemed to respond. Whether those signs truly belonged to the oldest versions of the myth, historians continue to debate. Yet their symbolic power remains unmistakable. Creation senses that one age is ending, and another waits beyond the horizon. Uranus lowers himself across Gaia. The stars shine brilliantly across his immense body. For a brief moment, he appears exactly as he did in the beginning. Magnificent, beautiful, eternal. That is what makes the moment so tragic. No tyrant ever sees himself as a tyrant. No ruler ever believes his own age must end. Cronus watches. His heart pounds with a rhythm that seems louder than the waves. The sickle feels cold against his palm. Perhaps fear touches him, perhaps regret, perhaps both. Some later traditions portray him as completely determined. Others suggest hesitation. The surviving stories leave room for uncertainty, and uncertainty feels human. Even divine beings stand at crossroads they cannot fully understand. The warning from Gaia's dream returns. No throne belongs to one generation alone. The words seem to drift through the darkness. Cronus tightens his grip. Then he moves. The motion is swift, a flash of silver beneath the stars. A single act that will change the structure of the cosmos. The sickle strikes. The heavens erupt. A cry rolls across existence. Not merely a shout, not merely pain. The sound feels like mountains breaking, like oceans overturning, like the first storm ever born. You feel the vibration move through the earth beneath your feet. The sea rises. The winds howl. The stars tremble. For the first time since creation began, the sky has been wounded. The Greeks remembered this event as one of the great turning points of mythological history, a moment when the old order fractured, a moment when power passed from one generation to another, a moment when destiny revealed itself. Yet victory does not feel triumphant. It feels sorrowful. The ancient world often understood that necessary actions could still carry tragedy. Gaia's suffering demanded justice, yet justice arrived through violence. Such contradictions run through Greek mythology like hidden rivers beneath the earth. The blood of Uranus falls upon Gaia. Drops of divine blood scatter across the world. Where they touch the earth, new beings begin to emerge. The cosmos responds to the wound. Nothing remains unchanged. From the sacred blood come the Erinyes, the Furies, ancient powers associated with vengeance and the punishment of terrible crimes. You sense their presence immediately, silent, watchful, patient. The Greeks later feared and respected them deeply. They represented the idea that certain actions carry consequences that cannot simply be forgotten. Even gods were not entirely beyond their reach. The appearance of the Furies creates another mystery. Whom will they judge? Uranus, Cronus, both. Ancient traditions offer different possibilities. The question remains unanswered, and perhaps it was meant to remain so. The blood also gives rise to other beings, strange powers, ancient spirits, forces connected to the wild places of the world. The earth itself seems fertile with consequences. One act creates countless futures. One wound generates entire generations of myth. Far above, Uranus begins to withdraw. His reign is ending. The sky no longer presses directly against the earth. For the first time, space opens between them. You notice the change immediately. The world feels larger. The air feels freer. Light moves differently. Distance becomes possible. The separation of earth and sky becomes one of the most important symbolic moments in Greek mythology. Without that separation, life cannot fully flourish. There must be room between things. Room for growth. Room for movement. Room for destiny. Ancient listeners may have understood this deeply. Children must eventually leave parents. Cities must change rulers. Old ages must yield to new ones. The myth transforms cosmic events into reflections of human experience. As Uranus retreats, he speaks. His words echo across the heavens. They are not merely words. They are a curse, a prophecy, a warning. The boundaries blur. The defeated sky looks upon Cronus, the youngest Titan, the son who raised the blade. And Uranus declares that Cronus, too, will suffer the fate he has inflicted. One day a child of his own will overthrow him. One day power will pass again. One day fear will return. The curse hangs in the air, cold, unavoidable. The stars themselves seem dimmer after it is spoken. Cronus stands motionless. The sickle remains in his hand. His victory suddenly feels incomplete, for the future has already turned against him. The prophecy enters his life like a seed entering fertile soil, not yet visible, not yet active, but growing, always growing. The Greeks loved such patterns. Again and again, attempts to escape destiny only helped fulfill it. The prophecy becomes part of Cronus now, a shadow following every future step. Uranus continues retreating into the heights. The stars travel with him. Soon he becomes distant. The wounded sky no longer rules the world directly. His age has ended. Silence slowly returns. The sea settles. The winds soften. The mountains stand beneath a new emptiness. An open sky stretches above creation. Gaia feels relief. The prison of Uranus has been broken. Space exists where none existed before. Yet her joy remains incomplete. The Cyclopes are still imprisoned. The 100-handed ones remain below. Much has changed, but not everything. Cronus looks across the world. The Titans will soon turn toward him. The cosmos will soon need a ruler. And the youngest son, who challenged heaven now, stands closer to power than any being alive. Above him, the stars shine through the newly opened sky. Beautiful, distant, silent, and somewhere within that silence, the curse of Uranus begins its long journey toward fulfillment. The first age has ended. The age of the Titans is about to begin. The world feels different after the fall of Uranus. You notice it immediately. The sky no longer presses tightly against the earth. Vast distances now stretch between mountains and stars. Winds travel farther. Clouds drift freely. Light moves across the world in ways never seen before. Creation can breathe. You stand upon a high ridge overlooking the newborn earth. Below, rivers shimmer through valleys. The sea glitters beneath silver moonlight. Mist gathers around distant peaks. Everything seems larger, more open. Yet openness brings uncertainty. The old ruler has fallen. A new one must rise. The prophecy of Uranus still hangs over the world like an unseen storm cloud. His warning echoes through memory. One day Cronus will suffer as he made his father suffer. One day a child will challenge him. The curse has been spoken. But for now, that future feels impossibly distant. Cronus stands at the beginning of triumph. The Titans gather. You watch them arrive from every corner of creation. Oceanus comes from the endless waters surrounding the earth. Tethys follows beside him like a flowing river. Hyperion arrives beneath shining celestial light. Theia glows with quiet radiance. Themis carries dignity and sacred balance. Mnemosyne brings memory itself. Phoebe arrives from places associated with mystery and prophecy. Coeus, Creus, and Iapetus come as well. Finally, Rhea approaches. Her eyes settle upon Cronus. There is pride there, and concern. The concern is harder to see. But it remains. The Titans assemble beneath a vast sky no longer ruled by Uranus. Ancient storytellers imagine this moment as the beginning of a new age. The first true court of the Titans. The first gathering of rulers beneath the open heavens. No marble palace exists yet. No golden throne. No temple columns. Instead, they meet in a sacred landscape. A broad valley surrounded by mountains. Cold springs emerge from stone. Ancient trees sway gently in the wind. Stars shine overhead like countless lamps. The setting feels appropriate. Closer to nature, closer to origins. The Greeks often imagined divine power residing not only in buildings, but in landscapes themselves. Sacred groves, mountain summits, hidden caves, flowing springs. Such places carried holiness long before great temples appeared. Cronus steps forward. The others look toward him. He does not boast. He does not celebrate. Perhaps the prophecy already troubles him. Or perhaps he understands that ruling is harder than rebellion. Both possibilities feel true. The Titans acknowledge him as leader. The youngest son becomes king, the ruler of heaven and earth, the master of the age now beginning. A strange feeling passes through the gathering. Relief, hope, possibility. The oppression of Uranus has ended. The future seems bright. Many later Greek traditions would remember the reign of Cronus as a golden age, a time before suffering hardened the mortal condition, a time when harmony seemed possible. Historians continue to debate how these traditions developed and whether they reflect very ancient beliefs or later nostalgia. Yet the image endured. The reign of Cronus became associated with abundance, with peace, with prosperity, at least in memory. You follow the Titans as they begin shaping the new order. Each possesses a role within creation. Each contributes something essential. Oceanus governs the great waters encircling the world. You travel beside him along endless shores. Sea winds carry the scent of salt. Waves strike rocky coastlines with rhythmic calm. The Greeks often imagined Oceanus not simply as an ocean, but as a vast river surrounding all lands. Beyond him lay mystery. Beyond him lay the unknown. Ancient sailors staring toward distant horizons likely understood that feeling well. Tethys nurtures spring streams and life-giving waters. Every hidden source of freshness seems connected to her. In future centuries, pilgrims will visit sacred springs, believing divine powers dwell nearby. The roots of such beliefs stretch back to figures like Tethys. Hyperion turns his attention upward. His interests lie among celestial things. He studies the movements of heavenly light. Theia joins him. Together, they become associated with brilliance and vision. Future generations will connect their descendants with the sun, moon, and dawn. Already hints of that destiny shimmer around them. Themis helps establish order, not law in the modern sense. Something older. Sacred custom. The invisible principles allowing the world to function. Hospitality, oaths, balance, justice. The Greeks believed such concepts possessed divine importance. Themis embodies them. Mnemosyne preserves memory. This role seems quieter. Yet, perhaps it is more important than any other. For without memory, stories disappear. Without stories, wisdom vanishes. Without wisdom, civilizations lose themselves. The Greeks lived in a culture where oral tradition carried immense power. Long before myths were written down, they survived because people remembered. Mnemosyne stands behind every storyteller, every poet, every listener gathered around firelight. You walk beside her through moonlit groves. Leaves rustle softly overhead. She seems to hear every voice ever spoken, every promise, every prayer, every prophecy. Nothing truly escapes memory, not even curses. And there lies the shadow. The curse of Uranus remains. The Titans celebrate a new age. Yet memory refuses to forget the warning. Neither does prophecy. Phoebe wanders often among lonely places, mountain caves, remote cliffs, sacred springs hidden beneath trees. Ancient Greeks later associated such locations with prophetic power, places where divine messages emerged through dreams, visions, and signs. One night Phoebe dreams. The dream arrives beneath brilliant stars. You witness it beside her. She sees a great tree growing from fertile earth. Its branches spread across the heavens. Golden fruit hangs from every limb. The tree appears magnificent. Then a shadow enters. One branch breaks, another follows. Soon the entire tree trembles. Yet from fallen fruit, new trees begin to grow. Phoebe awakens before dawn. The meaning remains uncertain. She shares the dream with no one, but the image stays with her. A kingdom growing, a kingdom breaking, a kingdom renewing itself through change. The mystery lingers. Meanwhile, Cronus settles into power. He walks through valleys and coastlines, surveying the world he now governs. At times he appears content, at times thoughtful, at times troubled. Rhea notices these moods more than anyone else. Their bond grows stronger with each passing age. She becomes his closest companion, his queen, his confidant. Together they travel through sacred landscapes. You follow them beneath moonlit skies, across windswept hills, along shorelines glowing beneath starlight. The world seems peaceful, almost perfect. Yet perfection in Greek mythology rarely survives untouched. The curse remains, the prophecy waits, and somewhere beneath the earth, forgotten voices still echo in darkness. The Cyclopes remain imprisoned. The 100-handed ones remain confined. Cronus has overthrown Uranus, but he has not yet freed those whose suffering inspired the rebellion. Why? Ancient traditions offer different explanations. Perhaps he fears their strength. Perhaps he simply forgets. Perhaps power has already begun changing him. No one can know for certain, but the question hangs over the Golden Age, like a small crack hidden beneath polished stone, like a distant storm beyond a calm horizon. The first Titan court has established a new order. The age of Cronus has begun. Yet destiny is patient, and the seeds of future sorrow have already been planted. The age of the Titans settles gently across the world. You feel it in the calm rhythm of the sea. You see it in the quiet valleys beneath starlit mountains. You hear it in the wind moving through sacred groves, where no fear yet troubles mortal hearts, because mortals themselves have not fully entered the story. For a time, peace seems possible. Cronus rules from a world still close to its origins. No marble palaces crown mountain peaks. No armies march beneath banners. No cities crowd the coastlines. The earth remains vast and young. The heavens remain open and clear. And beside the new king stands Rhea. You often find her walking apart from the others. While Cronus studies power, Rhea studies life. She lingers beside springs. She pauses beneath ancient trees. She follows rivers from their mountain births toward distant seas. The Greeks would later remember her as a mother goddess, a figure connected with fertility renewal and the rhythms of nature itself. Already those qualities surround her. Where Rhea travels, the world seems softer, more welcoming, more alive. One evening you walk beside her through a valley filled with silver mist. The air smells of pine and damp earth. Above, stars scatter across the heavens like grains of light cast upon dark velvet. The night feels peaceful, yet Rhea's thoughts drift elsewhere. She has begun to notice changes in Cronus. Small changes, almost invisible, but real. The prophecy of Uranus has not left him. Though years pass, the warning remains. One day a child will overthrow you. The words have become part of him. At first he dismissed them. Then he remembered them occasionally. Now he thinks about them more often than he admits. Fear rarely arrives all at once. It grows quietly, like roots beneath stone. You see it when Cronus gazes toward the stars. You see it when conversations turn toward destiny. You see it when Phoebe speaks of dreams and omens. His expression changes, only briefly, yet Rhea notices. She notices everything. One night, as cool sea winds move inland from distant shores, Rhea dreams. The dream comes softly, like moonlight drifting across still water. You enter it beside her. She stands upon a mountain unlike any that yet exists. Its summit rises above clouds. Its slopes shimmer with pale silver stone. At the top stands a throne. The throne is beautiful, carved from light, crowned with stars. At first it appears empty. Then children begin gathering around it. One child, then another, then another. Their faces remain hidden, their names unknown. They laugh, they sing, they move around the throne without fear. Then, suddenly, the stars above them begin to disappear. One by one, darkness spreads across the sky. The children vanish. Only the throne remains, empty, silent, cold. Rhea wakes before dawn. The dream troubles her, not because she understands it, because she does not. The Greeks treated dreams with great seriousness. A dream did not always predict the future directly. Sometimes it revealed possibilities. Sometimes it warned of hidden emotions. Sometimes it offered mysteries that only became clear years later. This dream feels like that. A mystery waiting for its time. She tells no one, not even Cronus. Some knowledge feels too fragile to share. Days pass. The Golden Age continues. You travel through the Titan world and witness its beauty. Oceanus circles the edges of existence. His waters shimmer beneath moonlight. Tethys nourishes springs hidden among hills and forests. Themis preserves sacred order. Mnemosyne gathers memories. Phoebe wanders among lonely heights where prophecy drifts like mountain mist. The world seems balanced. The world seems whole. Yet balance can conceal tension, like a calm sea hiding deep currents below. One afternoon, you accompany Rhea to a sacred grove. Ancient trees arch overhead. Their branches filter sunlight into shifting patterns across the ground. Bird song echoes through the leaves. The scent of wild herbs rises from warm earth. It is a place of peace, yet even here an omen appears. A great eagle circles overhead. Once, twice, 3 times. Then it vanishes toward the distant mountains. Rhea watches it disappear. A strange feeling passes through her. Not fear, expectation. The eagle will become important in later myths associated with kingship and divine authority. But here, long before Zeus claims such symbols, it remains only a sign, a question without an answer. Another mystery added to many others. Historians continue to debate how much symbolism early Greek audiences attached to animals and natural omens. Yet myths repeatedly preserve such moments. Birds, stars, dreams, storms, the natural world speaking in riddles. As evening falls, Rhea returns to Cronus. You find him standing beside a cliff overlooking the sea. The horizon glows beneath fading light. The waves strike stone far below. Cronus appears thoughtful. Rhea joins him. For a long time, neither speaks. The silence between them feels comfortable, familiar, ancient. At last, Rhea asks what troubles him. Cronus hesitates, then answers, "The future." Only that. The future, a simple word, yet heavy with meaning. The future contains prophecies. The future contains children. The future contains uncertainty. And uncertainty frightens rulers more than enemies. Rhea studies him carefully. She realizes something important. The prophecy has become stronger than the memory of victory. Cronus no longer thinks primarily about overthrowing Uranus. He thinks about being overthrown. The curse has already begun its work. This realization saddens her. For fear changes people, even good people, especially powerful people. The stars emerge overhead. Their reflections shimmer across dark water. For a moment you remember Gaia's dream. You remember the warning. What is hidden too deeply will not remain hidden forever. The pattern continues, generation after generation, parent and child, ruler and heir, power and fear. Yet the story has not reached its darkest point. Not yet, because another chapter of creation is approaching. A chapter filled with light, filled with wonder, filled with celestial beauty. Hyperion and Theia are preparing to bring new brilliance into the world. The heavens themselves are about to change. And while Cronus worries about distant futures, new powers are quietly approaching from the horizon of destiny. The age of the Titans continues beneath peaceful stars, but every star seems to carry a secret. Every dream seems to hide a warning, and every omen points toward a future that none of the Titans can fully see. The stars drift slowly above the Titan world. Night stretches across the heavens like a vast dark sail. You stand beside a shoreline where silver waves breathe against smooth stone. The air is cool. Salt lingers on every breeze. Far beyond the horizon lies a mystery that no traveler has reached, or perhaps no traveler has returned from. The Greeks loved such mysteries. Their world was shaped by coastlines, islands, and distant horizons. Every voyage carried uncertainty. Every sea route seemed to promise wonders beyond sight. Long before later sailors crossed the Mediterranean, myth had already imagined the ultimate boundary, Oceanus, the great river surrounding the world. You follow its lord now. Oceanus moves with quiet dignity. Unlike Cronus, he has little interest in thrones. Unlike Uranus, he seeks no domination. His nature resembles the waters he governs. Steady, patient, endless. The ancient Greeks imagined Oceanus not simply as a body of water, but as the cosmic river encircling all lands. Beyond it lay unknown realms. Beyond it stretched mysteries too distant for ordinary understanding. Even centuries later, as ships explored farther shores, the image endured. The edge of the world remained a powerful idea. You walk beside Oceanus along coastlines that seem to continue forever. Moonlight dances across black water. Seabirds glide through cool night air. Waves strike harborless shores with a rhythmic sound that feels older than language. The smell of salt fills your lungs. The world feels enormous. Yet Oceanus appears at peace within that enormity. Perhaps because he understands something many rulers forget. Not everything must be controlled. Not everything belongs to a king. The waters flow where they choose. The tides rise and fall according to deeper rhythms. Oceanus respects those rhythms. This is one reason ancient traditions often portray him differently from the more ambitious titans. Power does not tempt him as strongly. Distance does. Mystery does. The hidden edges of existence do. As dawn approaches, you travel farther with him. The coastline changes. Rocky cliffs give way to broad beaches. Mist drifts across quiet inlets. Seals rest upon isolated stones. The sea remains constant, always moving, always speaking. The Greeks listened carefully to such sounds. For island peoples and sailors, the ocean was never merely scenery. It was provider, roadway, threat, companion, teacher. Many myths emerged from conversations between humanity and the sea. Oceanus embodies that relationship. As you continue, an unusual sight appears. Far across the water, a strange light glows. Not sunlight, not starlight. Something softer, something uncertain. Oceanus pauses. Even he seems intrigued. The light remains visible for only a moment before vanishing into mist. Neither of you can explain it. Perhaps it is merely a reflection. Perhaps it is a divine sign. Ancient storytellers preserved many such mysteries without resolving them. The unknown often mattered more than the answer. You remember the dream of Rhea, the empty throne, the vanished children. You remember the prophecy spoken by Uranus. Its shadow remains over the Titan Age. Even peaceful journeys cannot fully escape it. The curse travels invisibly through time. As the day progresses, Oceanus visits his consort Tethys. Together they oversee countless waters. Streams emerging from mountain springs, rivers winding through valleys, hidden pools beneath forest canopies. Everywhere life gathers around fresh water. The Greeks understood this well. Settlements rose beside rivers. Sanctuaries appeared near sacred springs. Pilgrims traveled great distances to places where water seemed touched by divine presence. Some researchers believe many early cult sites developed around natural water sources long before grand temples appeared. The memory of such sacred waters survives in myths connected to Oceanus and Tethys. You visit one such spring. It emerges from stone beneath a grove of cypress trees. The water is crystal clear, cold, refreshing. The air smells of moss and wet earth. Bird song echoes among branches overhead. Even in this mythic age, the place feels holy. You can easily imagine future generations arriving with offerings. Small cups of wine, garlands of flowers, whispered prayers. The sacred often begins quietly, not with palaces, not with armies, with a spring, a tree, a cave, a feeling. As evening approaches, Oceanus becomes thoughtful. He gazes toward distant waters. The horizon glows beneath fading light. You ask nothing. Yet somehow the question arises anyway. What lies beyond? The Greeks ask this question constantly. Beyond the sea, beyond death, beyond the stars, beyond the known world. Oceanus smiles faintly, then points toward the horizon. The answer seems simple. More mystery. That response feels surprisingly comforting. Not every unknown must become known. Not every question requires resolution. The horizon remains beautiful precisely because it cannot be reached. The same may be true of destiny. Far away beyond sight, another omen unfolds. Phoebe dreams again among the mountains. She sees a crown floating upon dark water. The crown drifts peacefully at first. Then a great wave rises. The crown disappears beneath the sea. When she awakens, she cannot decide whether the dream concerns a kingdom, a ruler, or something else entirely. The meaning remains hidden. Yet the image joins the growing collection of signs surrounding the Titan age. Dreams, stars, birds, falling lights. The world seems to be speaking, but only in riddles. Night returns. You stand once more beside Oceanus. The stars shine above the endless waters. The waves continue their eternal rhythm. Cronus rules the world. Rhea dreams uneasy dreams. The curse of Uranus sleeps beneath every celebration. And beyond every horizon waits another mystery. The Titan age appears peaceful, yet peace and permanence are not the same thing. Oceanus understands this better than most. The sea teaches change. The tide teaches change. Even the stars slowly move across the heavens. Nothing stands still forever. Not rivers, not kingdoms, not rulers, and certainly not destiny. Far above, the night deepens. Far below, the waters continue their endless journey around the world. And somewhere beyond sight, the next great transformation quietly approaches. Before the world fully understands dawn, light begins as a promise. You feel it first as a soft warmth along the edge of darkness. A pale glow touches the distant sea. The stars remain above you, but their silver brilliance begins to fade. Night does not vanish. It withdraws gently, like a dream leaving the mind before waking. You stand upon a high slope overlooking the Titan world. Below, rivers wind through shadowed valleys. Far away, Oceanus still circles the edges of existence, carrying mystery around the world. His endless waters remember the strange light that appeared beyond the horizon. Now that light returns. Stronger, clearer, no longer only a distant sign. It gathers around Hyperion. The Titan of heavenly brightness stands beneath the fading stars. His presence is calm, noble, and immense. He does not rule like Cronus. He does not guard boundaries like Oceanus. He reveals. That is his nature. Beside him stands Theia, radiant and still. She carries the dignity of shining things, gold beneath earth, gleaming stone, the clear brilliance of sight itself. Ancient Greeks associated her with the power through which precious metals and celestial bodies shine. Her name suggests divine brightness, a sacred quality of seeing and being seen. Together, Hyperion and Theia bring a new kind of order. Not law, not kingship, illumination. The world slowly changes under their influence. Mountains acquire edges, valleys gain depth. The sea becomes more than sound and darkness. You can now see foam curling over rocks, mist lifting from water, the long curve of shore stretching into distance. Light creates form. It also creates revelation. The Greeks understood this in a symbolic way. To bring something into light was to make it knowable. Hidden things belong to night caves, dreams, and prophecy. Visible things belong to clarity, ritual, and public truth. Yet light is never simple. It can reveal what rulers wish to hide. It can expose wounds. It can awaken fear. And so another prophecy begins to stir. One morning, Theia dreams while the first glow spreads over the sea. In her dream, 3 radiant children rise from her body. One burns like the high sun. One glows pale and watchful, like the moon. One opens the gates of morning with rose-colored hands. The children move across heaven. They are beautiful beyond speech. But then a shadow crosses the sun. A cry echoes from the moon, and dawn stands weeping beside a closed gate. Theia wakes in silence. She does not yet understand the vision. No child has been born. No sun has climbed the sky. No moon has ruled the night. Yet the dream carries the weight of destiny. Surviving traditions later named the children of Hyperion and Theia as Helios, Selene, and Eos. Through them, the world receives sun, moon, and dawn. But here, before their birth, they exist as prophecy, as expectation, as light waiting for a face. You follow Hyperion and Theia through a sacred highland. Cold winds move over bare stone. The air smells of rain and distant snow. Far below, the sea flashes with early brightness. No human temple stands here yet, but the place feels ready for worship. One day, Greeks will build sanctuaries facing east. They will greet dawn with hymns. They will mark seasons by light. They will navigate by stars. They will watch the moon guide festivals and sacred calendars. The celestial order will become religious order. Time itself will become visible. For now, Hyperion studies the heavens as though reading a text not yet written. Theia watches the earth answer the sky. Where light touches stone, colors emerge. Gray, gold, rose, blue. The young world becomes more beautiful because it can now be seen. But beauty carries consequence. As daylight spreads farther, hidden places become harder to conceal. The caves where the Cyclops groan remain buried. The prison of the 100-handed ones remains sealed. Yet light seems to press toward those depths. You remember the old warning. What is hidden too deeply will not remain hidden forever. The words return naturally now, for light has entered the story. And light does not only comfort, it investigates. Cronus understands this, though he may not say it. From his court, he watches the growing brilliance with mixed feeling. A world filled with light strengthens his rule. It reveals his order. It beautifies his age. Yet, it also makes secrecy more fragile. He remembers Uranus. He remembers the curse. He remembers that his own power began in shadow. A ruler born from hidden violence can never fully love revelation. This is the quiet flaw growing within him. Rhea senses it. She sees Cronus turn away when Hyperion speaks of heavenly signs. She notices his silence when Phoebe mentions dreams. She feels the tightening atmosphere around prophecy. Fear is becoming policy. Not openly, not yet, but slowly, like frost forming on a palace window. You walk through the Titan court as light increases. The gathering place has changed since Cronus first became king. Stone seats now mark the valley. Sacred fires burn in shallow basins. Garlands hang from young trees. No mortal hands created these things. They arise from divine will and growing ritual. The world is learning ceremony. The Greeks would later use ritual to create order between humans and gods. Sacrifice, song, procession, and festival allowed communities to participate in divine patterns. In myth, the gods themselves often act ritually. They gather, they feast, they swear oaths, they interpret signs. The Titan court begins to resemble the sacred assemblies future Greeks will imagine in stories and festivals. Hyperion speaks before the gathered Titans. He tells them that light will soon have children, a sun to cross the heavens, a moon to guard the night, a dawn to open each day. The Titans listen with wonder. Even Cronus appears moved. For a moment his fear recedes. The promise of cosmic beauty softens him. Then Phoebe quietly speaks. She says that every new light casts a new shadow. The court grows still. No one accuses her of darkness. She is only stating a sacred truth. An omen follows her words. A flame in one basin bends sharply without wind. Then it divides into 3 tongues of fire. One bright gold, one pale silver, one soft rose. The signs vanish quickly, but everyone sees them. Theia lowers her gaze. Hyperion remains silent. Cronus studies the flames long after they settle. Another unanswered question enters the age. Are these lights blessings or warnings? The answer will unfold slowly. As night returns, you stand beneath a sky now touched by expectation. The stars seem less lonely. They await companions. The world awaits rhythm. Cronus awaits reassurance. Rhea awaits clarity. Gaia, deep and patient, awaits justice still unfinished. Far below, the imprisoned children listen to movements they cannot see. Perhaps even they feel the first light, not with their eyes, with hope. And above all of them, destiny prepares to turn brightness into time. Soon the heavens will no longer be merely beautiful. They will move. They will measure. They will remember. Before there are poets, there is memory. Before songs travel across harbors. Before priests chant prayers beside sacred fires. Before stories are carved into stone. There is Mnemosyne. You find her walking alone. Beneath a sky slowly growing brighter with celestial promise. The stars still shine, but they seem different now. They are no longer merely lights scattered across darkness. They are becoming markers, guides, witnesses. The world is learning how to remember itself. And no Titan understands that process better than Mnemosyne. She moves quietly through the age of the Titans. Unlike Cronus, she seeks no throne. Unlike Hyperion, she does not command light. Unlike Oceanus, she governs no vast physical realm. Yet her influence touches everything. For memory is the foundation upon which every kingdom stands. Without memory, there is no history. Without history, there is no identity. Without identity, even the gods become shadows. The Greeks understood this deeply, long before myths were written down. They survived through generations of storytellers. Fathers taught children. Priests instructed worshippers. Sailors carried tales between islands. Memory kept the world alive. And in myth, memory itself became divine. You follow Mnemosyne through a sacred grove hidden among rolling hills. The air smells of olive leaves and wild herbs. A spring emerges from moss-covered stone. Its water reflects the sky like polished silver. Birdsong drifts through branches overhead. The place feels ancient despite the youth of creation. Some researchers believe many Greek sacred sites originated around natural places like these. Long before temples dominated the landscape, springs, caves, and groves often served as centers of worship. Standing here, you understand why. The world itself feels holy. Mnemosyne kneels beside the spring. She touches the water. Instantly, images ripple across its surface. Not reflections, memories. You see Gaia rising from chaos. You see Uranus spreading across the heavens. You see the imprisonment of the Cyclops. You see Cronus lifting the sickle beneath the stars. The images vanish. The water becomes still again. Mnemosyne smiles softly. Nothing is truly lost. The statement sounds simple, yet it carries immense power. For memory preserves both glory and failure, both kindness and cruelty, both triumph and sorrow. The curse spoken by Uranus survives because memory preserves it. The dreams of Rhea survive because memory preserves them. The grief of Gaia survives because memory preserves it. Even forgotten things wait somewhere within the vast storehouse of remembrance. As you continue your journey, Mnemosyne speaks about stories. Not directly, not like a teacher delivering instruction, more like someone reflecting beside a fire late at night. She wonders what future generations will remember. Will they celebrate Cronus as a wise king? Will they condemn him? Will they understand Gaia's pain? Will they remember the imprisoned children beneath the earth? The questions remain unanswered. History itself often works this way. The same event can appear differently depending on who tells the story. Ancient myths understood that long before historians debated such matters. A memory is never completely neutral. It carries perspective, emotion, meaning. The mystery of truth lives within every retelling. As the day passes, you travel with Mnemosyne toward the Titan court. The gathering place has grown more elaborate. Sacred fires burn steadily. Stone circles mark places of assembly. Streams run through carefully tended groves. The Titans increasingly resemble the divine rulers later generations will imagine. Yet beneath that growing order, tensions remain. Cronus sits upon his seat of authority, Rhea beside him, Themis nearby, Phoebe watching quietly, Hyperion studying the heavens. Everything appears harmonious. But appearances can deceive. Mnemosyne notices it immediately. Fear has become part of Cronus. Not overwhelming fear, not yet. A quieter version, a constant companion. Whenever prophecy is mentioned, his posture changes. Whenever dreams arise in conversation, his expression hardens. Whenever the future becomes uncertain, he grows uneasy. The curse continues its work. One evening, during a gathering beneath the stars, Phoebe shares another vision. The Titans listen carefully. The air smells of cedar smoke from sacred fires. Cool winds drift through the valley. The stars shine brilliantly overhead. Phoebe describes standing beside a river. A crown floats upon its surface. The current carries it away. Then another crown appears. Then another. Each vanishes downstream. The river continues flowing, unchanged. The dream disturbs many of those listening, not because its meaning is obvious, because it feels familiar. The image recalls earlier omens. The throne in Rhea's dream. The tree whose branches broke. The prophecy of Uranus. Different symbols, the same pattern. Power passing, nothing lasting forever. Cronus remains silent. But Mnemosyne remembers his expression. She remembers every detail. That is her nature. The Greeks often imagined memory as something sacred, because memory defeats a certain kind of death. A person may disappear. A kingdom may fall. Yet remembrance allows something to endure. This idea becomes increasingly important as the story unfolds. For one day, even the Titans will become memories. One day their age will end. One day new gods will rule. The thought feels impossible now, yet destiny often approaches invisibly. You walk beside Mnemosyne after the gathering ends. The stars reflect in quiet pools of water. The night air feels cool against your skin. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. The world seems peaceful. Mnemosyne pauses beside an ancient oak. She touches its bark. The tree is young by future standards, yet already it carries rings of growth hidden beneath its surface. Memory exists within nature too, within stone, within rivers, within mountains. Even Gaia remembers, especially Gaia. You suddenly recall the hidden prisons beneath the earth, the Cyclopes, the hundred-handed ones. Their suffering has faded from daily conversation. The Titans rarely mention them now. Cronus rarely thinks about them openly. Yet Gaia remembers, and memory has patience. This realization feels important, perhaps even dangerous. The forgotten are never truly forgotten, not while someone remembers, not while memory itself walks the world. As dawn approaches, another sign appears. A shooting star crosses the heavens. Its light reflects in every pool and stream. For a brief moment, the entire landscape seems illuminated. Then darkness returns. The meaning remains uncertain. Historians continue to debate how ancient Greeks interpreted such celestial events. Some saw messages. Some saw warnings. Some saw evidence of divine activity. Myth often leaves the answer open. Mnemosyne watches the fading trail. She commits it to memory, like everything else. For one day, someone will ask what happened beneath these stars. One day, someone will want to understand how the world became what it is. And memory will be waiting, patient, silent, faithful, guarding the story until the next chapter arrives. Order does not arrive with thunder. It arrives quietly, like a path worn through grass by careful feet, like a cup placed beside a spring for the next traveler, like a promise kept when no witness stands nearby. You find Themis beneath the pale light of early morning, standing beside a clear stream that runs through the Titan Valley. The water moves over smooth stones. Its sound is gentle, steady, measured. Everything about her feels like that stream. Calm but firm, soft but impossible to ignore. Themis is not a ruler like Cronus. She is not radiant like Thea. She is not vast like Oceanus. Yet when she enters a gathering, even the strongest Titans become still. They sense something in her presence, a law older than command, a balance deeper than force. The ancient Greeks understood Themis as sacred order, divine custom, and rightful arrangement. She represented the way things ought to stand when the world was healthy. Not written law, not courtrooms, something older, the proper offering, the honored guest, the respected oath, the boundary no ruler should cross. You walk with her through the growing sacred landscape. The Titan court has changed again. Stone basins hold slow-burning fires. Garlands hang from branches. Clear water is gathered in shallow bowls. Flat stones serve as places for offerings. No mortals have yet built temples here, but ritual is already taking shape. The air carries the scent of smoke, damp leaves, and crushed herbs. Themis pauses beside a sacred fire. She watches the flame. It rises straight upward, then bends suddenly to one side. There is no wind. Themis narrows her eyes. A sign, perhaps small, perhaps not. In Greek mythology, imbalance often announces itself through nature. A strange flame, a bird's cry, a troubled dream, or an oath broken in secret could reveal disorder before disaster arrived. Themis understands such warnings. She feels them before others do. That morning, Cronus summons the Titans. They gather beneath young trees where shafts of light fall across the ground. Cronus speaks of stability. He speaks of the prosperity of his age. He speaks of the need to preserve what has been won. His voice is composed. His words are reasonable. Yet Themis listens beneath the words. She hears fear. It is carefully hidden but still present. Cronus no longer speaks only as a liberator. He speaks as a ruler protecting a throne. The difference is subtle. But sacred order notices subtle things. Rhea notices Themis watching him. Their eyes meet briefly. No words pass between them. Still, both understand that something has shifted. The curse of Uranus has not faded. Mnemosyne remembers it. Phoebe dreams around it. Rhea feels it. And now Themis senses its pressure upon the structure of the world. After the gathering, Themis walks alone to a high place above the valley. You follow along a narrow path lined with stones and wildflowers. The air grows colder. Mountain mist curls around your ankles. Far below, the Titan court glows with small sacred fires. Beyond it, the sea shines like polished metal. Themis kneels and places her palm upon Gaia. For a long moment she listens. From deep below comes a sound, faint, almost lost, a low groan from the imprisoned children. The Cyclopes, the hundred-handed ones. Themis closes her eyes. Here lies the wound in the new order. Cronus overthrew Uranus in the name of justice. Yet the prisoners remain beneath the earth. The original wrong has not been healed, only transferred. Ancient audiences would have recognized the danger. A ruler may defeat injustice and still inherit its habits. A new age can repeat the old one while claiming to be different. This is one of the quiet tragedies of myth. Themis rises slowly. That night she dreams. In the dream, she stands inside a great hall made of stone. The hall is empty. At its center rests a pair of scales. On one side lies a crown. On the other lies a child's hand. The crown sinks lower. The hand rises helplessly. Then the stone floor cracks. Water begins pouring through the cracks. The scales fall into darkness. Themis wakes before dawn. The meaning chills her. Power has outweighed kinship. Authority has outweighed mercy. And when balance fails, the ground itself may break. Was this dream part of an ancient tradition or a later symbolic pattern shaped by storytellers? No one can know with certainty. Yet it fits the moral imagination of Greece. The world itself reacts when justice is ignored. The next day, Themis approaches Cronus. You stand nearby beneath the shade of tall trees. Leaves stir softly overhead. The scent of resin hangs in the warm air. She speaks carefully. She reminds him of the imprisoned ones. She reminds him of Gaia's pain. She reminds him that a throne built upon an unhealed wound cannot remain peaceful forever. Cronus listens. At first, his expression is calm. Then it closes. He says the prisoners are dangerous. He says the world has found balance without them. He says some powers must remain below. Themis does not argue loudly. She simply looks at him. In that look lives a warning. Order without justice is only silence before collapse. Cronus turns away. The conversation ends. Nothing changes, but everything has been revealed. As evening falls, Rhea walks beside Themis through the grove. The sky darkens slowly. One by one, stars appear. Rhea speaks of her dream, the empty throne, and vanished children. Themis listens with sorrow. Then, she shares her own vision of the scales. The two goddesses stand together in gathering darkness, bound by knowledge neither can yet prevent. Above them, an owl calls from the branches, a sign of wisdom or warning, perhaps both. Far below, the sacred fires continue to burn. Their flames flicker restlessly now. The Titan Age still appears golden from a distance. Its valleys remain beautiful. Its waters remain clear. Its rulers remain powerful. Yet Themis has seen the hidden imbalance. Mnemosyne will remember it. Rhea will fear it. Gaia will feel it. And Cronus, though he denies it, will be shaped by it. The world continues forward, but beneath its calm surface, justice waits. Patient, watchful, unforgotten. The world feels older now, though no one can yet name what has changed. You walk beneath a sky still young with stars, but those stars no longer feel innocent. They seem to watch more closely. They seem to wait. In the Titan Age, even silence carries meaning. Even stillness feels like preparation. You find Iapetus far from the bright gatherings of the court. He does not stand at the center of councils. He does not speak often in assemblies. Instead, he moves along the edges of the world where land becomes uncertainty and the horizon begins to dissolve. The air here is colder, the wind sharper, the sea louder against distant cliffs. It is as though creation itself becomes less certain the farther you travel from the heart of the Titans. Iapetus feels like that edge. Ancient traditions describe him in different ways. Some see him as a titan of mortality, the ancestor of human struggle. Others connect him to endurance suffering or the unseen burdens carried by later generations. The truth remains unclear. But one thing is certain. Where Iapetus appears in myth, the future of humanity begins to cast its shadow. You walk beside him along a ridge overlooking vast, unsettled lands. No cities exist here. No temples. No cultivated fields. Only wild earth stretching toward distant seas. The scent of stone and wind fills the air. Far below, waves crash against black rock. The rhythm feels endless. Iapetus stops. He looks outward, not upward like Hyperion, not inward like Mnemosyne, outward, towards something not yet formed. A distant idea, a possibility. The Greeks would later imagine humanity as emerging slowly from divine and natural forces. Some myths speak of creation by gods. Others speak of earth-born beings. Some traditions connect early humans to divine punishment or divine generosity. The contradictions remain unresolved. Perhaps they were never meant to be resolved. Iapetus speaks little, but when he does, his words feel weighted. He speaks of change, of beings that will not endure like gods, of lives that begin and end in brief cycles compared to divine time. The concept feels distant now, unreal. No mortal heart yet beats in this world. But the idea is already present, a seed waiting in unseen soil. As you continue, Iapetus meets his sons in vision, though they are not yet born. Prometheus, Epimetheus, Atlas, Menoetius. They appear to him in dreams rather than reality, like shapes formed in mist. Each carries a different feeling. Prometheus feels thoughtful, restless, almost questioning. Epimetheus feels slower, reflective, shaped by hindsight rather than foresight. Atlas feels immense, burdened, before burden is even named. Menoetius feels storm-like, sharp, with dangerous pride. You stand within Iapetus's dream as he looks upon them. A strange omen unfolds. Above the children, a cracked sky appears. Light leaks through the fracture. Then darkness closes it again. The meaning remains uncertain. Is this a prophecy of human struggle, or a warning about divine inheritance? Ancient storytellers disagree. Even within surviving traditions, versions differ. This uncertainty itself feels like part of the myth. Reality has not yet settled into a single story. When Iapetus awakens, he does not speak of the dream, but something in him has shifted, a quiet recognition that whatever comes next will not remain within the circle of gods alone. You travel with him toward the Titan court. The landscape changes as you approach. Sacred groves appear more frequently. Stone markers begin to define gathering spaces. The court has become more structured under Cronus's rule. Order has increased, but so has tension. At the center of the court, Cronus sits upon a raised stone seat. Rhea stands near him. Themis watches from a short distance. Mnemosyne remains still as though listening to something no one else can hear. Phoebe sits with distant eyes as if half within a dream. And Hyperion and Theia remain near the edge of the gathering, observing the shifting patterns of light and shadow across the world. Iapetus joins them silently. Cronus speaks of stability again, of preserving the age, of maintaining peace. His words are calm, yet you notice how often he returns to the idea of continuity, as though speaking it might protect him from the opposite. After the council, Rhea approaches Iapetus. They do not speak long, but she asks a question that has begun to trouble her deeply. Why does peace feel fragile, even when nothing is wrong? Iapetus considers this, then answers softly, because peace depends on what is hidden beneath it. The words linger. Rhea understands without needing more explanation, because something is hidden beneath their world. The imprisoned Cyclops, the 100-handed ones, the unresolved wound of Uranus, Themis's broken balance, Mnemosyne's remembered curse, and Cronus's fear of what is not yet born. Even the earth beneath them remembers. Gaia has not forgotten. That night, another sign appears. You stand with Iapetus outside the court. The sky is unusually still. No wind moves through the trees. No animals call in the distance. Even the sea seems to pause. Then, without warning, a deep tremor passes through the ground. It is brief, but unmistakable. A reminder from below. Something stirs in the depths of Gaia. Iapetus closes his eyes. He does not speak, but you feel it too. The world is not complete, not settled, not finished. Far beneath them, the imprisoned beings shift in darkness, and far above them, the stars continue their silent watch. Between sky and earth, something is forming, something that will one day stand between gods and oblivion, something that will carry fire, carry thought, carry defiance. But that future remains unseen. For now only the shadow of mortals exists, a faint outline at the edge of divine awareness, and even that shadow is enough to disturb the Titans, Some thoughts arrive like wind before a storm. You cannot see them at first, but you feel their pressure against the world. Prometheus walks alone through the Titan landscape, though loneliness is not quite the right word. He is surrounded by creation, by mountains still young, by rivers still learning their paths, by skies that carry both brilliance and silence, and yet something within him moves differently from the others. You follow him along a narrow ridge where stone breaks into jagged cliffs. Far below, the sea crashes against black rock. The sound rises like distant thunder that never fully arrives. The air smells of salt and cold mineral dust. Wind cuts across the high ground sharp enough to sting the skin. Prometheus stops often, not because he is lost, but because he is thinking. The Greeks would later remember Prometheus as the Titan who brought fire to humanity, the figure who defied divine authority in the name of progress or compassion. But here, before that act, he is still becoming himself, still forming the question that will define him. You notice the way he studies the world, not as a ruler, not as a collector of domains, but as something more unsettling, a listener, as though creation itself is speaking in a language he is slowly learning. One evening, beneath a sky scattered with early stars, Prometheus descends into a valley where mist gathers between trees. The grove is silent. Ancient cypress trees stand like dark pillars. Their branches barely move. Everything feels paused, as though waiting for a decision not yet made. Prometheus kneels beside a stream. The water runs clear and cold over smooth stone. He watches it for a long time, flowing, changing, never repeating. Ancient Greek thinkers often saw water as a symbol of transformation. Nothing remains the same. Everything moves. Everything becomes. Prometheus seems to understand this instinctively. But understanding does not bring comfort. It brings questioning. A divine omen appears that night. You stand beside Prometheus as he sleeps beneath open sky. In his dream, he sees a great fire burning within a hollow mountain. The fire is not wild. It is contained, controlled, but alive. Around it stand figures without faces. They watch without speaking. Then the fire begins to fade. The figures turn away, and darkness spreads through the mountain. Prometheus wakes before dawn. The dream remains in his mind like an unresolved question. Fire appears again in later myths as the central gift or theft associated with Prometheus. But here, it exists only as symbol, as possibility, as absence, something that should be present but is not yet fully known. You walk with him toward the Titan court. The world is changing subtly now, not in dramatic ways. In small, almost invisible shifts. People are not yet present in physical form, but the idea of humanity presses closer to existence. It can be felt in the way Prometheus looks at tools, at stone, at branches that might become instruments, at sparks created when two rocks strike together. He watches such moments carefully, as though they reveal something important about the world's intention. At the court, Cronus sits as always upon his stone seat. His rule appears stable, yet his attention is increasingly divided. He listens to reports of omens, of dreams, of strange signs in the sky. He hears Themis speak of imbalance. He hears Mnemosyne preserve warnings in memory. He hears Phoebe describe visions that never fully resolve. And he grows quieter each time. Rhea notices this. She sees the tightening around him, like a cord slowly drawn. Prometheus watches all of this and begins to understand something that no one has spoken aloud. The world is becoming aware of itself, not just through gods, but through consequences. That night, Prometheus speaks to Epimetheus. The two brothers stand on a high plateau beneath cold starlight. Epimetheus listens more than he speaks. Prometheus asks a question. What would it mean for something to live briefly, yet still matter? Epimetheus considers this, then answers simply. It would mean that meaning is not measured in duration, only in experience. Prometheus does not respond immediately, but something in him settles. The idea takes root. Elsewhere, a storm gathers far beyond the horizon. Oceanus feels it first in his endless waters. Hyperion sees its edges in shifting light. Themis senses imbalance growing. Even Gaia stirs faintly beneath the world. Something is approaching, not yet formed, not yet named, but moving closer. Prometheus returns to the valley alone. There, he witnesses another omen, A small creature he has never seen before struggles to survive the cold. It trembles. It suffers. It persists. Prometheus watches without intervening. Then he looks away, and in that moment, a thought appears, not fully formed. Not yet action, only awareness. That suffering exists even in a world ruled by divine order. And if awareness exists, then responsibility may also exist. The idea unsettles him, because it does not belong to the language of Titans. It belongs to something else, something not yet born. Far above Cronus dreams troubled dreams. Rhea walks in silence. Themis observes cracks in balance. Mnemosyne remembers everything, and Gaia waits beneath them all patient, as stone carrying grief that has not yet completed its transformation. Prometheus stands at the edge of becoming, not yet rebel, not yet benefactor, not yet myth, only question. And in Greek mythology, questions are often the beginning of irreversible change. The world has a second heartbeat. You only notice it when everything else becomes still. A low, distant rhythm beneath stone and soil, like a memory trying to breathe. You follow Gaia into the deep places of the earth. Not the surface world of rivers and groves, not the bright valleys beneath stars, but downward, into darkness that predates light. The air changes as you descend. Cooler, heavier, thicker with silence. Stone walls close around you, damp and ancient. Water drips somewhere far away, each drop echoing like a slow, patient clock. This is where the Cyclops were taken. This is where the 100-handed ones were buried. Not destroyed, not gone, hidden. Gaia feels every step of this descent. You feel it too. The earth is not only beneath her, it is her. The Greeks would later imagine Gaia as both landscape and living presence. To harm what lies beneath the earth is to wound the world itself. And here the wound has never healed. You reach a vast underground chamber. It is not carved like a temple. It is not shaped like a palace. It feels accidental, like the world itself opened and never closed again. In the darkness, something moves. Then another movement. Then many. The Cyclopes are here. Their single eyes glow faintly in the dark, like embers refusing to die. Their forms are immense, but not chaotic. There is a strange dignity in their stillness, as though time itself has pressed them into patience. Nearby, deeper still, you sense them. The 100-handed ones. Their presence is overwhelming, not visually at first, but physically. The air trembles slightly whenever they shift. Stone vibrates faintly beneath unseen motion. You do not see all their forms clearly, but you understand their vastness. Gaia speaks softly. Her voice echoes through the chamber like wind through hollow rock. She does not accuse. She does not plead. She simply acknowledges what has been done. The Cyclops respond in low, uneven tones. Their voices are rough from long silence. They speak of darkness without sky, of stone without time, of endless waiting. Ancient traditions vary on how long they were imprisoned. Some suggest an age beyond measure. Others treat it as mythic time, not human time. Either way, the feeling remains the same. Endless confinement. The 100-handed ones do not speak at first. Then one voice rises. It sounds like many voices overlapping, like storm wind, like collapsing cliffs, like pressure building beneath mountains. They do not ask for pity. They ask for purpose. Why were we made strong if not to act? The question echoes, and Gaia has no simple answer. Above the world continues. Cronus rules. The Titans gather in court. Rhea walks beside uneasy dreams. Prometheus wonders about suffering, and no one speaks openly of the imprisoned ones anymore. Memory has begun to fade in the upper world. But below, nothing is forgotten. Gaia lowers her hand to the stone floor. The earth responds faintly, a pulse, slow, deep, as though acknowledging its own pain. In Greek imagination, imprisonment beneath the earth is never merely physical. It is symbolic of suppressed forces, of truths pushed out of sight, of consequences delayed but not erased. The imprisoned ones are not only victims, they are pressure, they are future release, they are inevitability held back by force. A divine omen appears in the chamber. A crack runs suddenly across the ceiling stone. No collapse follows, only a line, thin, bright with faint light from above. The Cyclopes see it first, then Gaia, then you, a warning, or a promise, or both. One of the 100-handed ones reaches upward, slowly, carefully. Stone shifts slightly in response, not breaking, but remembering movement. Gaia withdraws her hand. She understands something important. What is held too long will not remain held forever. The question is not whether change will come, only when, and through whom. You ascend with Gaia back toward the surface world. Each step upward feels lighter, but also more uncertain. The deeper truth remains below, and now it has been acknowledged. Above ground, the Titan world appears unchanged. Valleys still glow beneath starlight. Seas still breathe along distant shores. Sacred groves still stand in quiet balance. But beneath that beauty, something has stirred. A pressure, a memory, a potential release. Cronus does not yet know, but Gaia does. And memory once awakened does not return to sleep easily. The imprisoned ones remain in darkness, but darkness is no longer complete. A crack has formed, and through it, possibility begins to enter. You begin to understand that silence in the Titan world is never truly empty. It is layered, like stone placed over stone, like water pressing against a sealed shore, like memory buried beneath generations of forgetting. Cronus stands alone on a high ridge above the Titan court. The wind moves gently through tall grass. Far below, sacred fires glow within the valley where the Titans gather. The world appears calm, almost obedient. Yet Cronus does not feel calm. He feels watched, not by enemies, not by rivals, by time itself. The curse of Uranus has never left him. It lives in the quiet spaces between thoughts, in the pause before decisions, in the hesitation before sleep. You too will be overthrown by your child. The words are not spoken again, but they repeat themselves anyway. You stand near him, though he does not acknowledge your presence. In Greek myth, prophecy is not a message delivered once. It is a condition of existence. Once spoken, it becomes part of the world. Cronus looks up at the sky. Hyperion's light is beginning to spread across the horizon. Dawn is still young, not yet fully formed. But even early light feels revealing. And revelation is dangerous to those who rule through control. Below him, the Titan court prepares for another gathering. Rhea moves among them. Themis stands near a sacred basin of water. Mnemosyne sits in quiet stillness as though listening to voices no one else can hear. Prometheus is absent. His absence is noted but not yet questioned. Cronus descends slowly toward the assembly. Each step feels measured, heavy, deliberate, as if even walking requires thought. You notice something subtle in him now. He is no longer only a ruler. He is also a listener, not to others, to fear. The gathering begins beneath shifting light. Hyperion and Theia remain near the edge, their presence illuminating the space softly. Oceanus is absent, attending distant waters. Iapetus stands quiet, observing everything. Rhea sits close to Cronus, closer than before. Yet even she senses distance growing between them. Themis speaks first. Her voice is calm, balanced. She speaks of order, but also of strain. She does not name the imprisoned ones, but the meaning is there. Order built on suppression cannot remain stable forever. Mnemosyne follows. She speaks of memory, of things not forgotten even when ignored, of voices that persist beneath silence. Then Phoebe. She speaks of dreams that repeat themselves with different faces. Always a throne, always absence, always something missing. Cronus listens without interruption, but his stillness is not peace. It is containment. Inside him, something tightens further. A divine omen appears during the assembly. A hawk circles above the valley. Once, twice. Then it dives sharply toward the mountains and disappears. No one speaks immediately. In Greek tradition, birds often carry meaning beyond their physical presence. Their direction, timing, and repetition become messages without words. Cronus watches the empty sky where the hawk vanished. Rhea watches him, and something unspoken passes between them. Later that night, Cronus dreams. You stand beside him in that dream. The sky is dark, but not empty. Stars hang motionless above a throne made of stone and shadow. Cronus sits upon it. At first, he feels powerful, unchallenged. Then he hears something beneath the throne, a sound like movement in earth. He stands. The throne cracks slightly. From below, faint voices rise. Children, not yet born, but already speaking. The throne shudders again, and the sky above him begins to fracture. He wakes abruptly. The air in his chamber is cold. Rhea is not asleep. She watches him in silence. He does not speak of the dream, but she understands something has changed. The prophecy has stopped being abstract. It has begun to feel close. Imminent. Cronus rises and walks outside. The night is clear. The stars are bright. But they no longer feel comforting. They feel like witnesses. Somewhere in the distance, Gaia stirs in her sleep. Beneath the earth, the imprisoned ones shift again. And in the quiet spaces between worlds, fate continues its slow approach. Cronus stands beneath the sky and realizes something he cannot fully name. Power does not end fear. It refines it, shapes it, teaches it to think. And somewhere within that refined fear, a decision begins to form. Not yet spoken, not yet acted upon, but growing, like a shadow taking shape beneath divine light. You begin to notice that time in the Titan world no longer feels gentle. It feels measured, like something counting down without speaking. Cronus sits upon his stone seat in the Valley of the Titans. The sacred fires burn steadily. The air carries the scent of resin and smoke. Around him, the world continues its slow, divine rhythm. But inside Cronus, something has changed shape. The prophecy is no longer a distant echo. It has become a presence, a constant companion. You stand near him as Rhea approaches. She is carrying something unseen, not in her hands, but within her. The first sign is subtle, a stillness, a pause in her movements. Then Cronus understands. A child is coming. The Titans gather quietly around the sacred space. Even the winds seem to soften. Even the sea in the distance grows still for a moment, as though listening. Birth in Greek myth is never ordinary. It is cosmic. It reshapes the order of existence. Rhea is guided to a secluded chamber within the Titan Valley. Stone walls surround her. Sacred springs run nearby. Themis stands watch. Mnemosyne remains nearby, silent and attentive. Phoebe watches from a distance, as though seeing beyond the moment into something larger. Cronus waits outside. He does not enter. Not yet. The first child arrives. A cry fills the air, sharp, alive. The sound moves through the valley like a new force entering the world. For a moment, everything feels changed. Hope appears. Briefly, fragile. Rhea emerges holding the child. Her face is both radiant and exhausted. She looks at Cronus. There is joy there. And something else. Fear. Cronus looks at the child. The prophecy returns instantly. One day a child will overthrow you. The words do not sound like memory anymore. They sound like inevitability. The air tightens. You feel it too. The moment fractures. Cronus reaches forward, not with tenderness, but with certainty. He takes the child. Rhea freezes. Themis does not move. Mnemosyne closes her eyes. Phoebe looks away. The Titans understand, but no one speaks. Cronus carries the child into the darkness of his chamber. Rhea follows. She pleads. Her voice breaks the stillness. She speaks of love, of future, of trust. But Cronus does not answer. Inside the chamber, the air is colder. Stone presses in from all sides. The child cries. The sound is small. In the vastness of divine existence, it should be insignificant. But it is not. It carries meaning. It carries future. Cronus hesitates. For a moment. A fragment of time so small it almost does not exist. Then he acts. He swallows the child. The sound stops. Silence returns. A terrible silence. Rhea's scream follows. It is not just grief. It is rupture. The world itself seems to recoil. Outside, the sacred fires flicker violently. The wind rises. The sea far away shifts its rhythm. Gaia stirs beneath the earth. The imprisoned ones tremble in their darkness. One act has changed everything. Cronus returns to the valley. Rhea stands frozen. Her face is empty in a way that feels more painful than tears. Themis looks at him now, with something like sorrowful understanding. Mnemosyne remembers every detail. Phoebe sees a future branching into darkness. And Cronus says nothing. The prophecy has not been defeated. It has been obeyed. And in obeying it, it has begun to fulfill itself. Time passes. Another child comes. Again, Rhea brings life into the world. Again, hope flickers. Again, Cronus swallows it. Each time, the pattern repeats. Each time, the silence deepens. Each time, Rhea becomes quieter. until even her grief begins to feel like stone. You stand through these cycles. You feel the world growing heavier, not with evil alone, but with inevitability. The Titans begin to avoid speaking of births. The court becomes more distant. Even Hyperion's light feels less warm. Even Oceanus's waters seem to circle more slowly. Even Mnemosyne's memory becomes burdened. Each swallowed child is not erased. They remain somewhere within Cronus, not dead, not free, held within divine darkness. The meaning of this is unclear. Some ancient traditions suggest they remain alive within him. Others interpret it symbolically. A king consuming his future. A ruler attempting to prevent change by internalizing it. But myth refuses to settle on one truth. Rhea withdraws deeper into herself. You follow her through empty corridors of stone. Her footsteps echo softly. The air smells of cold mineral and extinguished fire. She no longer speaks to Cronus in the same way. Something between them has broken beyond repair. One night she goes to Gaia, deep beneath the world. You descend with her. The earth feels heavier than before, as though it remembers everything. Gaia listens to Rhea's grief without interruption. The mother of the world understands the sorrow of another mother. No words are needed at first, only silence shared between ancient beings. Then Gaia speaks, and the sound is like stone remembering its own formation. There is still one child, one who will not be swallowed, one who will change everything. A plan begins to form, not quickly, not loudly, but like erosion shaping mountains over time. Rhea listens, and for the first time since the first child was taken, something like resolve returns to her eyes. Far above, Cronus stands beneath the sky. He believes he has secured his rule. He believes he has prevented fate. But beneath him, Gaia remembers. And memory once awakened does not forget the future. You begin this section in a world that feels quieter than before. Not peaceful, just quieter. As if even the wind has learned to speak more carefully around the house of Cronus. The Titan King sits alone more often now. The court still gathers. The sacred fires still burn. The stars still move in their slow ancient order above. But something essential has shifted beneath all of it. A pattern has taken root. And that pattern is fear. You walk with Rhea through corridors of stone carved by time and divine presence. The air is cold here. It carries the scent of damp earth and extinguished flame. Her steps are slow, measured. As though each movement requires strength she no longer gives freely. The grief of swallowed children does not fade. It accumulates, like water behind a dam that grows heavier with every passing moment. Rhea no longer cries openly. The Greeks often imagined divine sorrow as something that eventually transforms rather than disappears. Here, it transforms into silence. But silence is never empty in myth. It becomes preparation. Rhea returns to Gaia. You descend once again beneath the world. The deeper you go, the more the earth feels alive around you. Not as landscape, but as witness. Gaia receives Rhea without words. There is no need for explanation. A mother understands another mother's loss, especially when that loss has no burial, no mourning rites, no ending, only disappearance into the body of a father who has become something else entirely. Rhea speaks at last. Her voice is steady but fragile at its edges. She tells Gaia of each child, each moment of hope, each act of swallowing, each silence that followed. Gaia listens. The earth itself seems to listen with her. Then Gaia speaks, not with anger, not yet, but with ancient clarity. There is still one child who must be born, one who will not be consumed, one who will survive the fear of the father. A child hidden not in shadow but in distance, on an island far from Cronus's gaze, a place where even divine attention moves more slowly. Crete. The name carries no power yet, but it will. Rhea feels something shift within her. Not relief, not joy, something closer to necessity. The decision is made quietly. There is no ceremony, no announcement, only movement through secrecy. The Greeks often preserved in myth the idea that destiny unfolds through small private acts rather than grand proclamations. A step taken in silence can reshape the cosmos. Rhea prepares for departure. You walk with her across landscapes that feel increasingly fragile. The Titan world continues its rhythms. Oceanus encircles the earth in endless flow. Hyperion's light still reveals the world each day. Themis still maintains balance where she can. Mnemosyne still remembers everything, but beneath these forces, tension has hardened into structure. The court of Cronus has become a place where speech is measured carefully, where prophecy is spoken in indirect tones, where even dreams are shared with hesitation. Rhea leaves without farewell. Or rather, her farewell is invisible, a glance that lasts too briefly to be noticed, a silence that says more than words. You follow her journey across sea and stone. The ocean opens before her like a vast, moving boundary. Storm winds rise as she travels. The waves grow taller. The sky darkens with distant thunder. Ancient storytellers often connected such storms with divine transitions, nature responding to myth, or myth shaping the way nature is remembered. Rhea crosses the sea. The waters beneath her seem uncertain, as though the ocean itself is unsure whether to obey Cronus or the unfolding future. Finally, she reaches Crete. The island rises from the sea like a hidden promise. Mountains stretch upward. Caves open within stone. Olive trees bend in coastal wind. The air feels different here, older in a way that is difficult to explain. Gaia is strong here. You feel it immediately. Rhea is guided to a deep cave within the mountain. The entrance is hidden by vegetation and shadow. Inside, the world becomes still. Stone walls absorb sound. The air is cool and steady. This is where the final child will be born. Outside, the world continues its distant motion. But here time slows. Rhea gives birth alone, with only Gaia's presence surrounding her. There is no Cronus, no fear of swallowing. Only pain, and then life. A child is born, and the moment he arrives, something changes in the world above. Storms shift. Stars flicker. The sea trembles. The earth itself feels as though it has taken a breath it has held for too long. Rhea holds the child close. For the first time in many births, she does not hide him from love. She hides him from fate. The child cries, strong, alive, unbroken. Gaia whispers to Rhea, the name must remain hidden. The future must not hear it too soon. So the child is wrapped carefully and taken deeper into the cave. Outside, the world of Cronus continues unaware. He still believes control is possible. He still believes nothing has escaped him. But beneath the surface of existence, something has already moved beyond his reach. A child has survived. A rebellion has begun. Not with war, not with thunder, but with concealment. And in Greek myth, concealment is never absence. It is preparation. Above Crete, the sky clears slowly after the storm. Stars return. The world resumes its rhythm. But now, there is a difference that cannot be undone. A future has entered the world that Cronus cannot see. And even the heavens, for the first time in this age, seem to hesitate, as if they are waiting for what comes next. You descend into silence deeper than any you have known before. Not the silence of empty valleys, not the silence between stars, but the silence of earth remembering what it chooses not to reveal. Inside the mountain of Crete, the cave breathes slowly. Cool air moves through narrow passages. Stone glistens with moisture that has gathered over ages no mortal mind can measure. You follow Rhea deeper into this hidden world. Every step feels heavier, not with fear, but with meaning. The child is here, the final child, the one who must not be seen by Cronus. Rhea carries him wrapped in cloth that smells faintly of wool milk and mountain herbs. Her hands tremble slightly, not from weakness, but from awareness. Every divine birth so far has ended in silence and disappearance. This one must not. Gaia's presence is everywhere here, not visible, not spoken, but felt. In the pressure of stone, in the rhythm of dripping water, in the way shadows seem to gather protectively rather than threaten. The Greeks often imagined caves as sacred thresholds between worlds, places where gods could be born hidden or revealed, places where truth could be sheltered from the gaze of authority above. This cave is one of those thresholds. Rhea stops deep within the cavern. The child stirs. A soft cry echoes briefly, then quiet returns. Outside this hidden place, the world of Cronus continues unaware. The Titan court still believes its order is secure. Hyperion's light still rises and falls across the heavens. Oceanus still encircles the world in endless flow. Themis still watches balance strain beneath invisible pressure. Mnemosyne still remembers every swallowed cry. And Cronus still believes he has defeated fate. But here, beneath stone, older than memory, something different begins. The child grows. Not physically yet, but in presence. Even silence around him feels less absolute. Rhea watches him constantly. Her grief has not vanished. It has transformed again. Now it carries purpose. Gaia speaks to her in dreams. You walk beside Rhea in those dream visions. The earth opens beneath her like a vast, living map. Mountains shift into shapes that resemble a throne. Rivers trace paths that look like future wars. Stars flicker like warnings waiting to be understood. In one dream, Gaia shows her a great storm forming far above the world. Lightning strikes not the earth, but the sky itself. The heavens crack like fragile stone. From that crack, something new begins to emerge. A force not yet named. Rhea wakes trembling, but not afraid. Determined. The child must survive, and survival now requires secrecy deeper than any before. The cave becomes more than shelter. It becomes a world. Rhea and Gaia together shape it carefully. Stone chambers are softened with woven cloth. Fresh water flows from hidden springs. Warmth gathers around small sacred fires that never grow too large. The child grows within this enclosed universe. Outside, the world continues its slow, divine rhythm. But here, time feels different. Not faster, not slower, just removed. The Greeks would later associate such hidden places with the birth of destiny itself. Not in the open world of kings and courts, but in concealed spaces where power cannot interfere. One night, a strange omen appears. You stand with Rhea near the cave entrance. The sky above Crete is unusually clear. Stars burn sharply in cold air. Then, without warning, one star flickers. It does not fall. It does not vanish. It changes direction, as if something unseen has touched it. Rhea feels Gaia's presence intensify, a warning. Or a blessing, or both. Inside the cave, the child grows stronger. His cries become less fragile, more steady, more aware. He reaches toward the world around him, even though that world remains hidden. Rhea begins to understand something quietly terrifying. This child does not feel like an ending to fear. He feels like its transformation. Far above, Cronus remains unaware. The Titan King continues to govern his age. But small disturbances begin to spread across existence. The imprisoned ones beneath the earth shift more frequently. The sea grows restless at unexpected moments. Dreams among titans become more vivid. Prophecies more frequent. Mnemosyne notices it first. She remembers patterns that others dismiss. Phoebe sees symbols repeating across dreams. Themis feels balance strain in ways she cannot yet explain. And Cronus begins to feel something he cannot name. Not yet knowledge, not yet fear. A disturbance, a sense that something has moved just beyond his reach, something he cannot swallow. You return to the cave with Rhea as night deepens. The child sleeps now. His breathing is steady, warm, alive. Rhea watches him for a long time. In her expression, sorrow still exists, but it is no longer dominant. Hope has entered, not safely, not gently, but irrevocably. Gaia's voice rises softly in the stone. It is not heard in words, but in certainty. The hidden child will not be consumed. The prophecy has not ended. It has simply changed shape. Outside, the wind moves across Crete. The sea continues its endless motion. And somewhere far away beneath a sky still ruled by Cronus, the world waits without knowing what it is waiting for. Because in myth, the most important moments are often those that remain unseen. Until they are no longer hidden at all, you begin this section in a world that feels deceptively unchanged. The sky still moves in its ancient rhythm. Stars still burn across the night like quiet witnesses. The sea still circles the land in endless motion. And Cronus still sits upon his stone throne, believing the order he created has not yet fractured. But beneath that surface calm, something irreversible is already in motion. You stand beside Rhea once more. She is no longer the trembling mother of earlier sorrow. Something in her has hardened, not into cruelty, but into necessity. She carries the final child of prophecy deep within the hidden cave of Crete. And now she knows what must come next. Gaia is with her, not visible, not speaking aloud, but present in every breath of stone, every pulse of earth, every distant echo of water moving through underground veins. The child sleeps nearby, warm, alive, unseen by Cronus, and that is what makes him dangerous. Because he cannot be taken. He cannot be swallowed. He exists outside the pattern that Cronus has forced upon the world. And patterns once broken cannot be restored without consequence. Gaia speaks softly. Her voice feels like it comes from the walls themselves. A deception is required. Not to destroy Cronus, not yet, but to preserve what must survive. Rhea understands. The act must mirror the language of fear that Cronus now trusts. A replacement, a substitution, a silence disguised as truth. You feel the weight of what is being decided. In Greek mythology, deception is rarely simple trickery. It is often survival disguised as necessity. Rhea prepares. The child is wrapped carefully in soft cloth. His warmth still radiates through the fabric. He is real, present, entirely alive. But he must disappear from Cronus's reach. So Gaia shapes something else. From the earth itself she forms a stone. Not just any stone. A form shaped with intention. Weight, texture, presence. It is made to resemble the child. Cold, silent, unmoving. The difference between life and stillness is vast. And yet, in this moment, it is concealed within cloth. Rhea holds both, the child and the stone. For a long moment she hesitates, not because she doubts the plan, but because she understands what it means to replace truth with survival, to offer illusion in place of reality. But Cronus has left no other path. The prophecy has shaped him into fear, and fear leaves no room for mercy. Rhea wraps the stone in swaddling cloth, carefully, deliberately, as though wrapping something sacred or something cursed. You walk with her as she ascends from the cave. The air outside Crete feels colder than before. The sky above is clear, too clear, as though the heavens themselves are watching more closely now. Far across the sea, Cronus waits. He has done this before, many times. Each birth has ended the same way. Each child has been taken. Each future has been swallowed. And so, when Rhea arrives at the Titan court, nothing appears unusual. The sacred fires burn steadily. The Titans gather in their accustomed places. Hyperion's light touches the valley with soft radiance. Themis observes silently. Mnemosyne remembers everything that has come before. Cronus rises when he senses the moment. The child has been born. Rhea does not speak. She simply presents the wrapped form. The world seems to hold its breath. Even wind hesitates. Even flame stills. Even memory itself feels attentive. Cronus takes the bundle. His expression does not change. He has done this before. The prophecy lives inside him now, like instinct, a reflex of survival. He unwraps the cloth. Inside lies the stone, perfectly formed, silent, unmoving. For a moment nothing happens. No reaction, no recognition. Then Cronus smiles faintly, not with joy, but with relief. He does not see deception. He sees confirmation. The cycle is held. The prophecy remains contained. The child is gone. He raises the stone and swallows it. The silence that follows is absolute. No sound moves through the valley. No wind stirs. No fire flickers. Even the Titans seem frozen in their positions. Rhea stands still, her face unreadable. Inside Cronus, something settles. The fear relaxes. The pattern has been preserved. He believes he has succeeded again. But beneath the world, something shifts. Gaia feels it immediately. A divergence, a fracture in destiny itself. Not destruction, not yet, but change. The swallowed stone rests within Cronus. Cold, empty, a symbol mistaken for reality. But the child remains alive, hidden, breathing, growing, unbound by the fate that consumed his siblings. And that difference will one day become thunder. You stand in the valley as the Titans slowly resume their movements. The world continues as though nothing has happened. But myth rarely depends on appearance. It depends on truth beneath appearance. Rhea turns away from Cronus. Not quickly, not dramatically, but completely. Something in their bond has ended here. Not love, not memory, but trust. Far above the sky remains bright. Hyperion's light spreads across the world. Yet now it feels different, as though even light has begun to anticipate transformation. Somewhere deep within Crete, the hidden child stirs, unaware of what has been done in his place, unaware of the deception that has preserved him, unaware that his survival has already rewritten the future. And above it all, Cronus sits upon his throne. believing the cycle complete, believing fate has been contained, believing silence means peace. But in Greek myth, silence is never peace. It is waiting, and waiting always ends. You return now to the place where silence is no longer empty. It is alive. It breathes. It watches. Deep within the mountain of Crete, the cave has become its own small universe. Stone arches curve like ribs around hidden chambers. Water runs in patient threads along ancient rock. The air is cool, steady, and strangely protective. And in the center of this hidden world, the final child of Cronus grows. You stand beside Rhea as she watches him. The stone still echoes faintly with the memory of deception. Outside this cave, Cronus believes he has preserved his reign. He believes the prophecy has been fulfilled and neutralized. He believes time has closed its loop. But here, beneath earth and secrecy, time moves differently. The child is not swallowed. He is not erased. He is raised. And that difference changes everything. Rhea no longer trembles as she once did. Something steadier has taken root within her. Not peace, not happiness. Something closer to resolve, shaped by irreversible truth. Gaia surrounds her constantly, not as presence that can be seen, but as pressure in the earth, as warmth in stone, as the quiet endurance of a world that refuses to forget its children. The child grows quickly, faster than mortal life would allow. But this is not mortal life. It is divine becoming. He begins to respond to sound, to movement, to light filtering faintly through hidden cracks in the cave. You notice how even the smallest changes in the environment seem to react to him. A flicker of wind, a shift in temperature, a distant tremor in stone. The Greeks would later imagine Zeus as a force of overwhelming presence. But here he is only potential, a presence not yet revealed to the world above. Rhea sings to him, not songs of power, but songs of concealment, soft rhythms that mimic the sound of waves far away, of wind through olive trees, of night that does not threaten. Her voice becomes the child's first understanding of the world. Safety is not absence of danger. It is presence of protection. One night, an omen appears inside the cave. You are there when it happens. The air grows still. Water stops its gentle movement for a single breath. Even the stone seems to listen. Then, from the deepest part of the cavern, a faint glow emerges. Not fire, not torchlight, something older, something that feels like awareness itself. The child reaches toward it. Rhea watches without fear. Gaia speaks through the earth. The child will not remain hidden forever. But while hidden, he will grow strong enough to survive what comes. The glow fades. Silence returns. But something has changed. The cave is no longer only shelter. It is preparation. Above them, Cronus continues his rule. The Titans still gather in their court. Hyperion's light still spreads across the world. Oceanus still encircles existence in endless motion. Themis still observes balance. Mnemosyne still remembers every swallowed moment. But the pattern beneath them is no longer stable. It has been interrupted. You feel it in the world outside the cave. Storms shift unpredictably over distant seas. Birds change direction mid-flight. Dreams among Titans grow sharper, more vivid, more unsettling. Phoebe begins to speak less, and when she does, her words feel fragmented, like visions breaking apart before they can be fully understood. Even Cronus feels something he cannot name. Not fear, not yet, but unease, a sense that something has escaped the pattern he trusts. Something outside repetition. Something alive. He does not know what it is, but he begins to look more often toward distant lands, toward Crete, toward places where his attention has never fully settled. You return to the cave as Rhea tends to the child. He is older now. Standing becomes possible. Curiosity has entered his movements. He reaches toward stone walls, toward dripping water, toward light. Each gesture feels like discovery. Rhea watches him with a mixture of pride and sorrow, because she knows what he will become, and she knows what must eventually happen. The child asks nothing yet, but the world already asks of him. Outside, Gaia speaks again, not in words, but in certainty. The age of concealment cannot last forever. All that is hidden will one day demand recognition. The question is no longer whether Cronus will be challenged, only when, and by what force. Far above the Titans continue their fragile harmony. But beneath that harmony, a new rhythm is forming. Not the rhythm of swallowed silence, but the rhythm of rising change. The child grows stronger each day, and with him, the possibility of a different future begins to take shape, one that Cronus cannot yet see, one that no prophecy has fully captured, one that even the stars hesitate to reveal. And in the depths of Crete, beneath layers of stone and secrecy, the hidden child begins to remember something he has never yet been shown. The feeling of becoming. You begin to sense it before anyone names it. A tension spreading through the Titan world like distant thunder that has not yet chosen its direction. Above, the sky still holds its calm brilliance. Hyperion's light rises each day with careful consistency, painting valleys in gold and sea in shifting silver. Oceanus continues his endless circuit around the world's edge, carrying waters that have not yet learned to break their rhythm. And yet something subtle has changed in the air between them all. You walk through the Titan court at a time when nothing appears outwardly wrong. Sacred fires still burn. Themis still watches balance with steady attention. Mnemosyne still remembers every oath, every dream, every swallowed silence. Phoebe still speaks in half-visions that fade as soon as they are spoken. And Cronus still sits upon his throne, believing the pattern of his rule remains intact. But his stillness has grown sharper, more controlled, as though even relaxation now requires effort. He looks toward distant horizons more often, toward the sea, toward Crete, toward places where his authority feels less certain, though he cannot explain why. You stand beside Rhea as she observes him from afar. There is no longer warmth between them, only recognition and distance. The children are gone, not forgotten, never forgotten, but gone from his awareness, or so he believes. Rhea carries silence now, like armor. She does not speak of the cave. She does not speak of the hidden child. She does not speak of Gaia's promise. Everything must remain concealed until the moment of necessity. That is what survival has become. The world continues its slow, divine motion, but small disturbances begin to appear at its edges. A river changes course without reason. A grove blooms out of season. A flock of birds turns away from migration paths, as though avoiding invisible pressure. The Greeks often interpreted such phenomena as omens, signs that the natural world was reflecting divine imbalance. Whether this belief is literal or symbolic depends on interpretation. But the pattern is consistent. Something hidden is pressing outward, and the world is responding. One evening, a gathering is called. The Titans assemble beneath a sky that has begun to dim earlier than expected. The air feels heavier, the light less certain. Hyperion and Theia stand apart from the others, their radiance subdued. Oceanus is absent, still circling distant waters. Themis arrives with solemn calm. Mnemosyne follows her presence, quiet but attentive. Phoebe sits as though already listening to something beyond speech. And Cronus takes his place at the center. He speaks of order, of continuity, of maintaining the structure of the age. His voice is steady, but you notice something beneath it, a need for reassurance. Themis watches him closely, then speaks. She does not challenge. She does not accuse. She simply reminds him that order is not static. That balance requires openness, that what is hidden will eventually demand recognition. A subtle silence follows her words. Even the fire seems to pause. Cronus does not respond directly, but something in his expression tightens. The word hidden now carries weight it did not carry before. After the gathering, Mnemosyne walks with Rhea. The night is calm. The stars are sharp and distant. Mnemosyne speaks softly of memory, not as history, but as pressure. She says nothing is ever truly removed, only placed elsewhere. Rhea listens without revealing anything, but she understands. Everything that has been swallowed still exists. Everything hidden still breathes. Everything unspoken still remembers itself. Far away in the cave of Crete, the hidden child stands now. He is no longer small. His awareness has expanded. He listens to the world beyond stone, not with ears alone, but with something deeper. A sense that something larger exists beyond his confined universe. Rhea feels it too. A subtle connection. A pressure building across distance. Gaia speaks again in dreams. You are there when it happens. The earth opens beneath Rhea like a living memory. She sees a great sky cracking like glass. From that crack, light pours down in torrents. Not destruction, revelation. And within that revelation, the shape of a throne trembling beneath unseen force. Rhea wakes with a sudden breath. The cave is quiet. The child sleeps nearby. But nothing feels still anymore. Even silence feels temporary. Above them, the Titan world continues its fragile balance. But that balance is no longer stable. It is waiting for something to arrive, or something to rise. Cronus stands alone that night at the edge of his court. The wind moves softly through the valley. The fires burn low. He looks toward the horizon for a long time, and for the first time since his reign began, he cannot convince himself that everything is secure. Not completely. Not anymore. Somewhere beyond sight, something has begun to move. And even he, King of the Titans, cannot yet name what it is. Only that it is coming. You feel the world beginning to narrow. Not physically, but in the way fate gathers its threads. As though countless unseen paths are slowly converging toward a single point in time. The Titan court is quieter now. Even when voices rise, they seem restrained. Careful, as if every word might trigger something irreversible. You stand at the edge of that court as a new presence arrives. Métis. She comes not with spectacle, but with clarity. Her movement is calm, deliberate, almost fluid like thought given form. The air around her feels different, sharper, more aware. In later Greek tradition, Métis will be associated with wisdom, cunning intelligence, and deep strategic foresight. But here, before myths fully define her, she is simply presence that sees further than others. Cronus notices her immediately. That alone is significant. Few beings now draw his full attention without effort. Hyperion and Theia observe from a distance. Mnemosyne stills slightly as though memory itself is adjusting. Themis watches without reaction. Rhea does not move, but something within her tightens. Métis does not bow. She does not challenge. She simply speaks. Her words are measured, carefully shaped. She speaks of patterns, of repetition, of cycles that strengthen when forced too tightly. She does not mention prophecy directly, but prophecy is always nearby in Greek myth even when unnamed. Cronus listens, not as he listens to fear, but as he listens to something he does not yet fully understand. Métis continues. She speaks of control, of how force can suppress change, but never eliminate it, of how hidden things grow stronger when denied expression, of how the world itself resists absolute containment. You feel the tension in the air deepen. Even the wind outside the court seems to slow. A divine omen appears during her speech. A bowl of sacred water placed near the gathering begins to ripple without disturbance. The surface trembles, then stills, then ripples again. No one touches it. No one moves. The message is unclear, but it is undeniable. Métis finally speaks of children, not specifically, but conceptually. She says that what is not allowed to emerge will eventually emerge in another form. Different, stronger, less predictable. Cronus's expression changes slightly at this. A subtle reaction, barely visible, but present. After Métis finishes speaking, silence fills the court. No immediate response follows. In Greek myth, silence after wisdom often carries more weight than speech. It is not agreement. It is recognition. That something has been seen that cannot easily be unseen. Métis steps back. She does not wait for approval. She does not insist. She simply leaves the space she has altered. Later that night, Rhea seeks her out. You follow her through the dim pathways beyond the court. The air is cool. The stars above are unusually still. Métis stands near a quiet spring. The water reflects fragments of light. Rhea does not speak at first. Métis already understands why she has come. There are questions that do not need formulation. Rhea finally asks what she already knows she must ask. Is the hidden child safe? Métis does not answer directly. Instead, she speaks of inevitability, of patterns that resist suppression, of futures that do not remain confined by intention. Her words are not reassurance, but neither are they despair. They are recognition. Rhea understands. That is what makes it difficult. Meanwhile, far away in Crete, the hidden child grows stronger still. He has begun to sense boundaries, not just physical walls, but conceptual limits. He presses against the cave's edges with growing awareness, not to escape, yet, but to understand. Each day something within him expands, a curiosity that does not belong to confinement. Gaia watches this closely. She knows what is forming, not just a child, but a force that will eventually demand expression in the world above. Cronus remains unaware of this direct truth. But Métis's words linger inside him, like a seed placed into unwelcoming soil. He begins to observe more carefully the Titans, Rhea, the patterns of births, the absence of certain presences. He does not yet see clearly, but he begins to look. And in Greek myth, looking is often the first step toward transformation. One evening, Cronus stands alone again. The sky above him is filled with stars that feel more distant than before. Hyperion's light still moves across the horizon, but even it feels less certain, as though illumination itself is becoming cautious. Cronus hears something faint beneath the world, not a sound, a sensation, like pressure rising from depths he cannot access. He does not understand it, but he does not ignore it either. And that marks a shift. The age of unquestioned control is ending, not through collapse, but through awareness. Métis' counsel has done what prophecy alone could not. It has made uncertainty conscious. And once uncertainty becomes conscious, it cannot be contained in the same way again. Somewhere beyond the world's visible order, the hidden child continues to grow. And somewhere within Cronus, fear begins to learn a new shape. Not panic, not reaction, but anticipation. The kind that waits for something it already suspects is real. The world is no longer stable in the way it once was. It is preparing. You feel it before you understand it. A reversal in the air. A turning of something that had long seemed fixed. The Titan world is no longer simply waiting. It is beginning to respond. You stand in the court of Cronus, but the space feels different now. Not larger, not smaller, but uncertain, as though the very idea of permanence has begun to loosen its grip. Cronus is restless. You notice it in the way he moves, in the way he listens, in the way he pauses too long before speaking. The counsel of Métis still lingers within him. Her words about cycles that cannot be contained have not left his thoughts, nor have the subtle warnings of Themis, nor the quiet memory of Mnemosyne, nor the dreams of Phoebe that never fully resolve. And beneath all of this, something deeper continues to press upward from below the world. Gaia feels it first. You descend with her into awareness rather than place. The earth itself seems to shift, not violently, but with intention, like something long held in silence, finally beginning to breathe. In Crete, the hidden child stands taller now. His awareness no longer fits the space that contains him. He senses not just walls, but beyond them, not just limitation, but absence. He does not yet know what he is, but he knows he is not complete. Rhea watches him carefully. Every movement feels like the edge of inevitability. Gaia speaks softly through the stone. The time approaches, not yet fully arrived, but no longer distant. And in the upper world, Cronus begins to feel it too. A strange disturbance, as though something he once believed complete is shifting within him. It begins subtly, a tightening in his awareness, a sense that the pattern of swallowed children is no longer stable. You stand beside him as he observes Rhea more closely than before, not with affection, but with scrutiny. The absence of children in recent cycles does not reassure him. It unsettles him, because absence itself can become meaning, and meaning once formed is difficult to unform. Rhea remains calm outwardly, but within her, everything is aligned toward a single concealed truth. The hidden child is no longer hidden in the same way. He is becoming presence, not absence. One night, an omen appears across the sky. A formation of stars shifts slightly out of alignment, not breaking, but rearranging, as though something unseen has touched the heavens themselves. Hyperion notices first. The light across the world flickers subtly. Themis feels imbalance deepen. Mnemosyne remembers older patterns of similar signs. Phoebe dreams of a door opening within stone. Cronus sees none of these directly, but he feels their accumulation. Something is gathering, and he cannot yet define its shape. Then comes the moment of return. Not sudden, not explosive, but inevitable. At the Titan court, Rhea appears. You stand near her as she approaches Cronus. The valley is quiet. Sacred fires burn with steady flame. The air feels heavier than usual. Cronus rises slowly. He already understands what this moment is about, or thinks he does. Rhea does not speak at first. Neither does Cronus. Silence stretches between them. Not peaceful silence, but charged silence. The kind that precedes recognition. Rhea holds something wrapped. Cloth, carefully prepared. Cronus's gaze fixes on it immediately. Old pattern, familiar structure, birth, return, swallowing, control. He reaches out. Rhea hesitates only briefly, then offers the form. The world seems to pause. Even the wind stills. Even fire holds its shape. Even memory waits. Cronus takes the bundle. He unwraps it. Inside lies what appears to be a child, or something made to resemble one. He studies it briefly. Then, without hesitation, he swallows it. The motion is automatic now. Repetition turned into ritual. The Titans watch in silence. Rhea does not move, but something in the air fractures invisibly. And then, a sound. Not from above, not from around. From within Cronus. Not immediate understanding, but disruption. The swallowed form is not what it should be. Inside him, something cold settles. Not child. Stone. A deception. The realization does not arrive as thought. It arrives as shock, a breaking of internal certainty. For the first time since the cycle began, Cronus feels uncertainty, not as idea, but as intrusion. The pattern has been broken, not by force, but by substitution. Rhea turns away, not in triumph, not in defiance, but in completion of something irreversible. The Titans remain silent. No one moves to speak. No one interrupts the unfolding consequence. And in that silence, something larger begins to shift. Far below, Gaia responds. The earth itself vibrates faintly, not with violence, but with alignment. Something long prepared is now closer than ever. In Crete, the hidden child stops moving. He feels it, not visually, but internally, a resonance, as though something far away has recognized his existence at last. And in the upper world, Cronus stands still, his expression no longer certain, no longer controlled. For the first time since the prophecy began, he understands something fundamental. What he thought he had contained was never truly under his control, and what he believed he had prevented has already begun to arrive, not as future, but as presence. You arrive now at the edge of something that feels like stillness, but is not truly still. It is anticipation. The kind that settles over the world just before a storm chooses its first direction. The Titan Age stands in its final quiet configuration. Everything appears intact, and yet nothing is safe. You stand with Cronus at the center of his court. The sacred fires still burn. The valleys still glow beneath the night sky. Hyperion's light still rises each day with its measured brilliance. Oceanus still encircles the world in endless motion. Themis still holds balance in her quiet vigilance. Mnemosyne still remembers every swallowed moment. Phoebe still dreams of shapes that no longer feel like dreams alone. But something fundamental has shifted. It is no longer hidden. It is simply not yet revealed. Cronus feels it most sharply. You see it in the way he no longer sits comfortably upon his throne, in the way his gaze lingers too long on empty space, in the way silence itself now feels suspicious to him. He believed swallowing the future would preserve the present, but the present has begun to fracture under the weight of what it contains. Rhea stands apart from him now, not physically distant, but existentially separate. The bond between them has not vanished. It has transformed into opposing knowledge. She carries what he cannot accept, and he carries what she will no longer conceal. Beneath the world, Gaia stirs with final patience. The hidden child has become something more than hidden. He has become pressure, movement, awareness seeking expression. The cave in Crete no longer feels like confinement. It feels like preparation. You walk through that cave one last time. The air is different now. Charged, even the stone seems to anticipate release. The child stands at its center, no longer only a child, but presence on the edge of becoming. He listens to the world above with a clarity that has grown beyond human measure, not hearing voices, but sensing structure, sensing imbalance, sensing that something is waiting for him outside stone. Gaia speaks without sound. The moment approaches, not yet fully formed, but no longer distant. Above, Cronus senses disturbance again, stronger now, more direct, not dream, not omen, but inevitability pressing against his awareness. He calls the Titans together once more. The gathering is different this time, less ceremonial, more restrained. Even Hyperion's light feels dimmer against the weight of unspoken understanding. Even Oceanus's absence feels symbolic rather than incidental. Even the winds hesitate before moving through the valley. Cronus speaks, but his words no longer carry certainty. He speaks of order, of continuity, of maintaining what has been preserved. Yet no one fully responds, because something has already responded beneath speech. Rhea stands in silence, and that silence is not empty. It is completion. Far away in the cave of Crete, something shifts. The child steps forward, not into light, not yet, but toward threshold. The boundary between hidden and revealed begins to thin. And in that thinning, the world itself changes structure. The sky above the Titans darkens slightly, though no storm has formed. The sea grows restless at its edges. The earth hums faintly beneath all things. Not destruction, transition. Cronus feels it finally in full, not as fear alone, but as recognition that fear was only the first form of truth. He looks toward Rhea, and for the first time, he does not see compliance. He sees inevitability. The prophecy he tried to contain has become reality that no longer requires permission. You feel the moment arrive, not dramatically, but completely. A breaking point that does not explode outward. It simply opens. From Crete, the hidden child moves. From the earth, Gaia answers. From memory, Mnemosyne remembers everything at once. From balance, Themis releases what can no longer be held. And from time itself, something new steps forward. The age of Cronus does not end with a battle. It ends with recognition that what was swallowed has not been destroyed, that what was hidden has not ceased to exist, and that what was meant to be contained has only been delayed. You stand now at the threshold of Olympus, not yet the realm of Zeus, not yet the age of thunder, but the moment before it, a world holding its breath, waiting for the first true rupture of divine order. And as silence deepens across heaven and earth, you understand what the Titans never fully accepted. That every age believes itself complete, until the next one arrives and begins to breathe.